Chapter 221. Glowing like a Goddess. Who are they to summon the leader of Gordonway and his troops here, personally? He must have formidable backings. Could he be the young master of some Chinese supreme-class families? How scary. This time, Shamala family has hit a snag. When the spectators around them saw the departure of the leader of Gordonway, they began to peer over the other side and whisper among themselves. Let's continue. Wang Xian spotted Lan Qingyue's shocked look, so he stroked her head gently. Gosh, Xiao Xian, you're way too impressive. You actually summoned the leader of Gordonway over. Without the channel and Jade Nation, the Zhou jewelry will not be the match of deep-sea jewelry in the future. Xiao Xian, thank you. How about this? When I go back, I'll have a board meeting, and I'll distribute you some shares. Lan Qingyue was animated as she grabbed Wang Xian's arm and rattled on nonstop. Wang Xian chuckled. Forget it. I'm not interested in this. Oh, I'll pass the jade stones to you later on. Qingyue, help me get some gold and silver bricks with that. The more, the merrier. Gold and silver bricks? Sure, leave this to me, said Lan Qingyue with a smile without asking anything further. Currently, the Dragon Palace required 100 tons of gold, 100,000 of silver, 1 million tons of bronze, 10,000 tons of fine iron, 1 million tons of coral reefs, 1 ton of 5 colors of gemstones each, and 1 ton of spiritual stones. He had collected 23 tons of gold, around 100 tons of silver, 5 tons of bronze, and 100 tons of fine iron. No progress on coral reefs and 5 colors of gemstones had been made yet, but he had managed to collect 1/10 of the spiritual stones. On the whole, Wang Xian lacked many things. He needed to find coral reefs and 5 colors of gemstones in the sea. Coral reefs were common, though. After touring the stone-bedding street once, about 500 stones were collected in 2 of Imo Qinglong's bags. If Wang Xian cut out all the stones, he believed their value would not be less than 2 billion. Let's find a hotel and rest. My uncle and I will be discussing the Jade Stones partnership with a few companies tomorrow. You don't have to follow me. After a busy day, Wang Xian and Lan Qingyue checked into a hotel in the evening. Sure, I'll get some rest tomorrow at the hotel. Wang Xian smiled and said, Yes, we should be departing for China tomorrow afternoon. Get some rest. After dinner, Wang Xian chatted with Lan Qingyue for a while before he returned to his room. I wonder, what's that sapling in the stone? When Wang Xian returned to his room, he took out the stone that he had bought from the stall and observed it with amazement. Let me open it. He held the rock in his hand and began to apply force. I can't even break this stone, even with my current strength? Wang Xian was shocked. He thought of the time when his eyes ached after staring at it with his piercing eyes. He knit his eyebrows and punched hard on that stone. The stone remained unmoved. Buzz. At the same time, Wang Xian's phone suddenly rang. Feeling doubtful, he placed the stone aside for the time being. Hello, Miracle Dr. Guanghua? Is there anything? Wang Xian picked up the phone and asked puzzledly. Miracle Dr. Wang, I'm sorry to disturb you at this hour. Where are you now? Asked Miracle Dr. Guanghua in panic. I'm at the Oi International Hotel. What's the matter, Miracle Dr. Guanghua? Is anything wrong? Upon hearing his tonality, Wang Xian hurriedly asked. My most junior disciple is in trouble. It's complicated. I would like you to come over and take a look, said Miracle Dr. Guanghua anxiously. Your most junior disciple? Wang Xian was slightly stunned as he thought of Dr. Sunday immediately. He asked, Where are you now? I'll be right over. I'll send you an address. It's not far. Wang Xian looked at the map and rushed over to Miracle Dr. Guanghua's place. Wang Xian arrived at a hotel 10 minutes later. He headed directly to the presidential suite on the highest floor. Miracle Dr. Wang, you're here? It was a disciple of Miracle Dr. Guanghua who opened the door. When he saw his arrival, he quickly led him into the room. Wang Xian saw Dr. Sun lying on the sofa after he entered the living room. Guanghua, beside her, was poking her with a silver needle nonstop. Wang Xian noticed that Miracle Dr. Guanghua's clothes were in bits and pieces. Apparently, this was after a fight. What's going on? What happened? Wang Xian went over and saw Dr. Sun, whose entire body was as white as snow. Her entire body was a milk color, exuding a faint luster. Not even a drop of blood was flowing in her body. She was as white as snow, glowing just like a goddess. Miracle Dr. Bloodman did this. Miracle Dr. Guanghua lifted his chin and looked at Wang Xian with a worn-out face. Xiaoxiu went back to the room in the evening. Subsequently, I didn't find her inside, but there were signs of a struggle in the room. I traced it and found Xiaoxiu lying on the ground in a mountain. Miracle Dr. Bloodman was battling with the holy priest. I got her back, but I realized all her blood had been sucked. Miracle Dr. Guanghua darkened his expression as he spoke. All her blood was sucked? Wang Xian's heart sank as he walked to Dr. Sun immediately. With his piercing eyes, her perfect figure was exposed under his vision. He scanned inside Dr. Sun's body and realized there was not a single drop of blood in it. Yet, unique white-colored energy was maintaining her vitality. Her heart is not beating, yet she maintained her vitality. How did you do it, Miracle Dr. Guanghua? Wang Xian was shocked as he squatted down. With all the blood sucked dry, Dr. Sun should have been dead immediately. But yet, she was still alive. If the white-colored energy completely disappeared, she would die immediately at such a state. I don't have this ability. Miracle Dr. Guanghua shook his head bitterly. I guess this is her unique constitution. When I first met her, I found her special, as though she was carrying bright energy with her. She's suitable to be a doctor. She gave me a similar feeling to the holy priest. Hence, I accepted her as my disciple. Miracle Dr. Wang, I asked you here to see if you have ways to treat my disciple. Her blood was sucked dry, and her vitality is maintained by special energy. Once this energy disappears, she will die. Besides, she would reject other blood given her current state. Guanghua continued to say, I can only slow down the energy consumption through acupuncture, but I don't think this will last any longer. Wang Xian nodded and grabbed Dr. Sun's arm. A stream of wood energy entered her body. Boom! The moment Wang Xian's wood energy entered Dr. Sun's body, the white-colored glowing energy intensified in her body. It was as hot as the sun. Chapter 222. The Female Light Divine Dragon. When Miracle Dr. Guanghua saw his disciple emitting a brilliant light, he was shocked. Junior's sister looked so holy and pure. The white-shirt young man by the side was dumbfounded and simply stared blankly at Dr. Sun, who was on the sofa. Her current pure and beautiful looks were similar to the records of holy goddesses in mythology. Seeing Dr. Sun emitting radiant light, Wang Xian was stunned. He started observing her body carefully. Pure and flawless, fair without impurities. Even her 8 extraordinary meridians have no signs of blockage at all. Inborn constitution. This is what a real inborn constitution is. Wang Xian looked at Dr. Sun's body in shock. Pure and flawless. This wasn't the inborn constitution created using dragon energy by Wang Xian, but a naturally formed inborn constitution. And there's unique white-colored energy of the light attribute around her. No, it can't be. Wang Xian squinted his eyes and recalled the time when he had encountered the 5-element stone plate. 5 elements source stone was the origin sources of the 5 attributes. The light that Dr. Sun was emitting currently was almost identical to the energy emitted by the 5 elements origin sources. Origin source constitution? This is comparable to the divine dragon's bloodline. Why would this appear on Earth? Wang Xian's eyes popped open. When looking at races in the universe, one could look at bloodline or constitution. The divine dragon's bloodline was the bloodline of the highest level. As for origin source constitution, it was the constitution of the highest level. I would never have expected this. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. However, Dr. Sun's blood had been sucked dry. I have to inject fresh blood into her. However, the origin source constitution will reject an ordinary bloodline. Wang Xian hesitated for a moment before squeezing out a drop of essence blood from his hand. He dripped the blood onto Dr. Sun and directed it slowly into where her heart was. Thump. At this moment, her heart beat. A concentrated stream of dragon energy entered the heart of Dr. Sunday. Thump, thump, thump. Not good. This won't work unless I inject all my blood into Dr. Sun's body. Wang Xian frowned instantly. He wanted to use his blood as a starter and rely on the blood creation ability of the heart to restore blood in Dr. Sunday. However, things weren't as simple as he had thought. Her heart's blood creation ability isn't sufficient. Although her constitution is exceptional, she is still an ordinary person. She has not even contacted ancient martial arts previously. Wang Xian frowned and pondered. How is it? Is there nothing miracle Dr. Wang can do? Guanghua saw the light disappearing and commented bitterly. I can give it a try, but I have to get back to the country. Wang Xian recalled something and said to Guanghua. Phew, are you confident, Miracle Dr. Wang? Guanghua frowned and asked. Rest assured, it shouldn't be a problem. I can still maintain her vitality at this moment. Wang Xian said with a smile. That's great, that's great. Miracle Dr. Wang's medical skills are indeed incredible. There's nothing I could have done. Miracle Dr. Guanghua shook his head and sighed emotionally. I will also need to rely on some spiritual medicine. Wang Xian shook his head and continued. Do you want to hand Dr. Sun to me, or would Miracle Dr. Guanghua prefer to go to Rivertown with me? I'll go to Rivertown with you. Although I have just accepted this disciple, she has only encountered this catastrophe because she followed me. If I can't see her recovery, I won't be at ease. Miracle Dr. Guanghua replied. All right. We will head back tomorrow afternoon. At that time, we can travel together. All right, Miracle Dr. Wang. On the second morning, Lan Xingyue and Lan Quanfeng went to negotiate the details of the collaboration. As for Wang Xian, he continued his examination of that stone. In the afternoon, the group took a plane back to Flow City. Xiao Xian, I have told Guan Shuqing about you, helping to treat the disciple of Miracle Dr. Guanghua. Don't harbor other ideas. When the two of them were about to separate, Lan Xingyue took a glance at Dr. Sun, who was on the stretcher, and warned Wang Xian. Wang Xian was speechless and found it hilarious. Nonetheless, he nodded his head and commented, I'm a doctor. TSK. After giving a cold sneer and rolling her eyes at Wang Xian, Lan Xingyue pouted and left. Wang Xian shook his head and looked to Miracle Dr. Guanghua. Miracle Dr. Guanghua, send Dr. Sun to my place. All right. After sending Dr. Sun to Wang Xian's villa, Miracle Dr. Guanghua sat around for a little while before leaving with his disciples. Wang Xian looked at Dr. Sun, who slept silently on the bed like a holy goddess, before taking a glance at the time. Let's go get that thing over, Wang Xian thought in his mind. He went to the top floor of the villa, removed his clothes, and jumped into the sea. Roar! He swayed his tail and swam towards the coral region of Bohai Sea rapidly. Swish, swish, swish. Along the way, Prime Minister Turtle, Roving Heavens, Roving Lobster, and Roving Girl joined in and followed behind him. After half an hour, Wang Xian arrived at the coral region once again. That was the dangerous territory of the Devil Flowers. Devil Flowers, Level 12. Extractable dragon energy from the flower sac, 1,112,343. Looking at the giant devil flowers ahead of him, Wang Xian turned serious. The Level 12 devil flowers were the strongest marine animals in the entire Bohai Sea. Wang Xian could only choose to avoid it when he encountered it previously. However, with his current strength, he definitely could defeat it. Restrict all the tentacles of the devil flowers and kill it, Wang Xian instructed his subordinates. Yes, Dragon King. Attack! Wang Xian shifted his body and turned into a golden dragon of the metal attribute. He immediately attacked the flower petals using his razor-sharp claws. Swish, swish, swish. At the instant Wang Xian launched his attack, hundreds of tentacles wrapped towards Wang Xian. Wang! Boom! At this moment, Roving Heavens and Prime Minister Turtle also acted. They immediately attacked the various tentacles. Wang Xian grabbed towards the huge petal with his dragon claws. With the powers from the entire Dragon Palace and Wang Xian's level increment, the devil flowers were slowly being ripped apart. The tentacles were being chopped off one after another. It's done. Wang Xian reached downwards and pulled up a huge flower sack. I can get more than 1,000,000 points of dragon energy if I devour it. It seems like I have to let Dr. Sun repay this slowly in the future. Wang Xian shifted and swam back towards his villa. His subordinates dispersed to the surroundings and continued with their cultivation practice. Splash! Back in his room, Wang Xian noted that Xiaoyu had not returned. He went into the room where Dr. Sun was. Extractable dragon energy from the flower sac is 1,112,343. It could restore and strengthen one's heart. This flower sac is equivalent to a level 12 spiritual medicine. Its effects are definitely insane. Wang Xian thought in his heart. He looked at Dr. Sun and slowly slipped the flower sac into her mouth. With a thought, the flower sac turned into liquid and entered her body. In that instant, her body glowed in glorious white light, and her heart started beating violently. With Wang Xian's blood as a trigger, drop after drop of blood was being created. Blood of the divine dragon was being created and slowly flowed into her body and limbs. Wang Xian looked at Dr. Sun and hesitated for a moment. With a thought, he injected the cultivation arts of the light divine dragon into her mind. The current Dr. Sun had completely shaken off the bloodline of a human and was metamorphosing into the bloodline of the divine dragon. This form of bloodline was not something the Dragonians couldn't compete with. A female light divine dragon. Chapter 223, Progenitor Tree. Gagaga. I finally reached Prince Realm. What exhilarating and mighty energy! Back on the other side of the world, Miracle Dr. Bloodman was roaring with excitement in the basement of a castle in Europe. Massive energy including oppression, darkness, terror, and the power to conceal sun and moon exuded from his body. Brother, sister-in-law is here too. We're here to check if you're hiding any woman. Just when Wang Xian was staring at Dr. Sun, Xiaoyu's exclamation was heard from the outside. He was stunned, and the door swung open immediately. 3 girls, Xiaoyu, Guan Shuqing, and Elder Fong went inside. Wow! 3 of them stared at Dr. Sun on the bed with amazement in their eyes. Her pure and flawless face made her look just like a holy goddess. Her perfect figure was envied by all the girls. She was a goddess that could make countless men go crazy for her. Even when Elder Fong looked at her, she could not hide her astonishment. No wonder Qingyue sent me a message to get me here. Guan Shuqing stared blankly at Dr. Sun as she whispered, Wow, brother, where did you get this stunning beauty from? She's so ravishing, pure, and holy. That was her disposition. Dr. Sun, who was lying on the bed, was giving off a glow just like a goddess. This would make most of the girls ashamed of themselves. She's the disciple of Miracle Dr. Guanghua and used to be a doctor from our city hospital. Something happened to her, so she needed treatment. Wang Xian looked at them and quickly explained. You used to give treatments only in the medical hall. That's where you get your Mad Doctor nickname from. But now, you brought a patient back home just because she's a beauty. Guan Shuqing glared at him angrily. This is a special case. Her sickness is quite complicated even when I'm the one treating her. I don't know when she can wake up. Wang Xian explained again. Immediately, he fished out pieces of jade jewelry from his pocket. Pigeon blood ruby. I bought this from Jade Nation especially for you. Wang Xian pressed near Guan Shuqing with a smiling face as he took out an exquisite necklace and passed it to her. That's more like it. Guan Shuqing was pleased as she held the necklace up and gazed at it with love. Brother. At this time, Wang Xian heard Xiaoyu's displeased voice. How could I forget about my beloved sister? Wang Xian laughed and took out another piece of jewelry. Then, he turned to Elder Fong and said, Elder Fong, here's yours. Everyone gets one. Thank you. Elder Fong smiled as she received the jewelry from Wang Xian. Shuqing, You've been practicing with Xiaoyu for a few days. How's your cultivation? Wang Xian asked Guan Shuqing with concern. When Guan Shuqing found out about Xiaoyu's cultivation, she was tempted to try too. Hence, Wang Xian got Elder Fong to guide her as well. I'm a level 5 martial artist now. Am I awesome? Guan Shuqing said animatedly. So fast, Wang Xian was stunned as he asked with consternation. Brother, you don't know how crazy sister-in-law is. She's even faster than I am now. I started my cultivation a dozen days ahead of her, and I'm only at level 6. It was also the spiritual medicine that I took which got me this far. Xiaoyu went along with her words with a surprised look. Wang Xian looked over with an astonished look as Elder Fong nodded her head slowly. Apparently, she was also shocked by the cultivation speed of Guan Shuqing. She was simply too crazy. Are you that powerful? Wang Xian was somewhat surprised, as he had not unblocked all the 8 extraordinary meridians in her. Yet, her cultivation was much faster than Xiaoyu. Heh, that's my ability. Guan Shuqing lifted her chin complacently as she replied joyously. Wang Xian smiled and nodded. That's true. Shuqing, you're the best. You've got a wife, so you forget all about your sister. Xiaoyu, next to him, rolled her eyes at him. By the way, did you see the spiritual medicines on the rooftop? That fish secretion grass? You can use it if it's useful for your cultivation, said Wang Xian to Xiaoyu. Yes, I saw it. When Sect leader Tang sent some spiritual medicines to me the other day, he was dumbfounded. Xiaoyu chuckled. Read more chapter on novel full. After Wang Xian was gone, Xiaoyu came to the rooftop for her cultivation every day. When she went up with her master for the first time, they were stunned for 5 minutes after seeing the spiritual medicines. The level 4 spiritual beads and the level 5 spiritual medicine, fish secretion grass, contained immense spiritual strength. Sect leader Tang found level 2 spiritual medicine after some hard work. Hence, he brought them over. In the end, he was so embarrassed that he put his spiritual medicine away when he saw the spiritual grass lying around on the rooftop. Thinking back, Xiaoyu found it extremely funny. If it benefits your cultivation, just use it. You don't have to save it for me. Elder Fong, you can use it to enhance your strength too, said Wang Xian to them. Elder Fong gave a bitter smile. It was level 5 spiritual medicine. Even her sect leader swallowed mouthfuls of saliva when he saw it. He also stared at it with a shaky body for half a day, not to mention her. Yet, the spiritual medicine was placed on the rooftop just like some weed. It was a total waste of resources. They were chatting and laughing as they came to the living room. Elder Fong went to the kitchen to cook dinner. After dinner, Wang Xian pulled Guan Shuqing into the room for a chat. Their moaning was so loud that Elder Fong jerked her body slightly with flickering eyes on the second floor. But Wang Xian missed the fiery flame flashing in Guan Shuqing's eyes during their intercourse. 3 hours later, Guan Shuqing pleaded with him to stop. Wang Xian came to the rooftop of the villa to enjoy the cold breeze while sobering himself up. I shall check out this thing then. Wang Xian picked up the stone beside him. It was the same stone he'd bought from Jade Nation. There was no way he could break the stone in his human form. Wang Xian took the stone and leaped into the sea. Roar! With a soft growl, Wang Xian turned into a divine dragon. He immediately scratched the stone with his dragon claws. Ka. Finally, the stone cracked under his mighty force. Ding! A sapling of a progenitor tree was found. Do you want to plant it in your body? The moment the stone cracked open, he felt a gust of green aura coming at him. The system notification prompted him at the same time. Wang Xian was stunned for a moment, but without further ado, he agreed. The sapling of the progenitor tree is planted. You may absorb the Azure Dragon energy. The system notification was heard again. At that instant, Wang Xian felt a strong suction in his body that seemed to be sucking all the vitality he had in his body. His facial expression changed slightly as he quickly closed his eyes. He began to meditate so that he could control the suction to absorb all the dragon energy in the world. 1 hour, 5 hours, 10 hours. Wang Xian sat with his legs crossed in the ocean quietly without moving. This won't do. This is a fucking endless pit. I must go for a retreat to suck the sapling of the progenitor tree dry. After 12 hours, Wang Xian opened his eyes and spoke with a grumpy look. He immediately returned to the villa and quickly explained to Guan Shuqing and Xiao Yu about his plan before he went back to his room. Retreat. Chapter 224, 1 month. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Wang Xian didn't know how long he had been cultivating. Only through constant cultivation practice could he barely keep up with the absorption of that damn sapling of the progenitor tree. Guan Shuqing, Xiao Yu and Lan Qingyue would come over to take a look at Wang Xian, who was sitting with his legs crossed in his room, from time to time. If it wasn't for Wang Xian emitting dense vitality and reminders from Imo Qinglong who stayed beside Wang Xian, they would probably have sent Wang Xian to the hospital. On the 25th day, Dr. Sun woke up. When she opened her eyes, the image of a light divine dragon flickered and a horrifying pressure emitted from her body. Xiao Yu and Guan Shuqing asked Dr. Sun to go home first, but were rejected by her. She stayed within the villa and within Wang Xian's room the entire day while looking blankly at Wang Xian. From time to time, she would use a towel to clean his face. While doing so, she always wore a blissful expression which might have been due to having the same bloodline as Wang Xian. Her body emitted a kind of holiness and nobility that made one feel that this woman shouldn't exist in the mortal realm. Dr. Sun's persistence and gentleness made Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue feel a strong sense of danger. However, Dr. Sun was treating them very kindly. This made them a little speechless. In the room of Wang Xian a month later, Dr. Sun stared at Wang Xian with a blissful smile, while Imo Qinglong stood at his side deferentially. When he looked at Dr. Sun, it was with respect and fear. Phew, it's finally not absorbing anymore. At this moment, Wang Xian opened his eyes and heaved a sigh. Miracle Dr. Wang, you are awake. A pleasant voice sounded beside his ears. Wang Xian was slightly stunned and looked over. An exquisite and perfect face appeared in front of him. Her bright eyes were staring intensely at Wang Xian. Wang Xian was taken aback. Sensing the dramatic change in her aura and the even more beautiful Dr. Sun, he revealed a faint smile and exclaimed, Dr. Sun, you are awake. Yeah, thank you, Miracle Dr. Wang. You can just call me Lingxiu. Don't call me Dr. Sun. Sun Lingxiu had the smile of a goddess. When she saw Wang Xian getting up, she immediately reached over to help him up. It's all right. I can do it myself. Wang Xian immediately replied. However, Sun Lingxiu still kept a warm smile, looking intensely at him and helping him up. An alluring scent floated by, making Wang Xian a little aroused. Miracle Dr. Wang, shoes. Sun Lingxiu picked up the shoes on the floor and wanted to put them on for him. What the? Wang Xian looked blankly at Sun Lingxiu. She was wholly like a goddess and wore a white shirt. Her perfect figure was much better than Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue. It was especially so for the vibes from her body. Even Wang Xian felt inferior to her in this aspect. Someone like her was going to put on shoes for him? It's fine. Let me do it myself. I can do it myself. Wang Xian interrupted immediately. It's all right. Miracle Dr. Wang saved my life. This is something I should do. Sun Lingxiu shook her head and squatted down. Wang Xian couldn't take it. He grabbed his shoes quickly and put them on. Miracle Dr. Wang, let me make you some food. You have not eaten for a long time. Sun Lingxiu replied with a smile before walking out of the room. Wang Xian's jaw dropped, and he looked to Imo Qinglong who was beside him. He felt confused and asked, Old Imo, what happened? Imo Qinglong shook his head and answered, Young master, I don't know either. Since Miss Sun woke up, she has been staying by your side. Moreover, Imo Qinglong hesitated for a moment before continuing. Miss Sun is really strong now. In fact, she's even stronger than me. I can sense young master's vibes from her. I believe that this is because of the bloodline. Bloodline? Wang Xian sank into thought. There's a saying that goes along with the idea that blood is thicker than water. The blood within Sun Lingxiu was from him, and they shared a common root and source. This was similar to Wang Xian's future child who would inherit his bloodline. It was just that Sun Lingxiu had inherited it by a different method. Therefore, Sun Lingxiu would develop a unique affection for him. This type of unique feelings together with her admiration and love for Wang Xian from previous occasions made these feelings even stronger than before. It seems like things have gone beyond my expectations. Wang Xian had initially thought of curing her and raising her to be a great miracle doctor. In that case, there would be someone helping him earn money, and he wouldn't be that busy in the future. Forget it. Let's just take a step at a time. However, Sun Lingxiu still has to stay with me at this moment, Wang Xian thought to himself. After which, he looked to Mo Qinglong and asked, "How long have I been practicing behind closed doors?" "A month, young master." "Something's happened during the month," answered Mo Qinglong. "So long? Speak. What happened?" Wang Xian asked curiously. First, young master's ranking on the Miracle Doctor's chart has increased to 8th. Many people have invited young master to take a look at their illnesses. Second, assassins from the Sneaky Thorn organization were sent to assassinate young master recently. The Sneaky Thorn organization has now been annihilated by 7 Dragonians. The 7 of them have established the Abyss, an assassin organization, and returned to their previous occupations. The Abyss received news from the Sneaky Thorn organization that the one who issued the mission was from the Gambling City. They are now assassinating the higher management of Gambling City. An inborn expert has been assassinated by Abyss, and the name of Abyss is now known throughout the underworld. Mo Qinglong smiled and explained to Wang Xian. "Oh, is it? That's great. Establishing an assassination organization in less than a month. However, inform them to only kill those who deserve it. We don't have to be the embodiment of justice, but we can't be too evil," replied Wang Xian with a smile. Based on the cultivation pace of the 50 Dragonians, they should be martial artist level 9 by now. Those who were diligent might have even reached the stage of half-step to inborn. Previously, the 50 Dragonians could have reached the inborn realm if they practiced behind closed doors for 100 days. However, they were now acting outside. Therefore, the time required to reach the inborn realm might have been extended a little. Nonetheless, 50 Dragonians were definitely able to cause a storm in the underworld. "Yes, young master. The 50 Dragonians managed to earn 500 spiritual stones in a month," Mo Qinglong answered. "It seems like my previous decision was correct." Wang Xian smiled and stretched his body. "I haven't been out for a month. It's time to relax a little." He had been behind closed doors for a while. Feeling the little sapling in his body, Wang Xian had the urge to spew blood. The little sapling was known as the Progenitor tree. The name sounded cool, and the fact that it could merge with his body was impressive. However, it didn't seem to have any effects at all. The only information about the Progenitor tree was the ancestor of all wood. As to its effects, he had no clues at all. This made him speechless. A month of cultivation practice behind closed doors, and all he got was a little sapling that he did not know the use of. "Miracle Dr. Wang, have something to eat." At this moment, the voice of Sun Lingxiu sounded from outside the room. Her voice was as sweet as a bird and made one's heart skip a beat. "All right, thank you." Wang Xian walked out of the room. When he saw dishes of delicacies placed on the dining table, he quickened his pace down the stairs. "You don't have to thank me. I'm just repaying the debt of gratitude," Sun Lingxiu said to Wang Xian with a smile. Chapter 225. Back to School. "If the food doesn't taste good, let me know, and I'll do it again." Sun Lingxiu sat opposite Wang Xian as she looked at him with a smiling face. There was a faint smile on a fair and flawless face. Staring at her holy look seemed almost a disrespectful act. Wang Xian was uncomfortable with her gaze. With slight hesitation, he asked, "Lingxiu, just call me Wang Xian. How's your cultivation progress going?" "I think I'll still call you Xiao Xian since it is more cordial." Sun Lingxiu tilted her head slightly and beamed. "I'm at the 5th Divine Dragon transformation, but I don't think I can transform into a Divine Dragon yet." When Wang Xian saw her adorable look that was inconsistent with her holy appearance, he received a significant impact due to the stark contrast. Probably it was not the right time yet. Sun Lingxiu was, after all, not a real dragon race. If she wanted to become a dragon, she would need an evolution process. Hence, she was not an authentic female divine dragon yet. From now on, you can just follow me. I'll leave the divine dragon medical hall in your hands. Wang Xian hesitated before he spoke. Part of the reason he spent tremendous effort to treat her was because of the divine dragon medical hall. Really, Xiao Xian? A hint of excitement flashed in Sun Lingxiu's eyes. The light divine dragon transformation which I'm cultivating can cleanse any impurities through the light energy. It is quite effective too. Given my current strength, I'm confident in treating some terminal diseases. Okay, I'm kinda lazy. I'll leave Divine Dragon Medical Hall to you from now on. Wang Xian smiled and nodded. But you need to let Miracle Dr. Guanghua know about this. I got this. Master is very kind to me. I'll tell him about it later. Sun Lingxiu nodded. Miracle Dr. Guanghua could no longer guide her in her current medical skills. Okay. Wang Xian smiled and took out his phone to check the time. He realized it was noon. In addition, he had received many messages which included some from the school counselor from the school. The counselor sent him dozens of messages. The school counselor sounded angry and anxious in his last message. You'll be expelled if you don't come back to school. Wang Xian revealed a bitter smile. His attendance for classes did not exceed 10 days ever since the new semester began. Earlier on, he had applied for a month's vacation, but it was already over. Besides, he may have been a well-known figure in Rivertown, but not many people in school knew about it. All the more, the school counselors were going nuts about it. They would deduct credits as long as he was absent. Apart from his school counselor's messages, there were dozens of Wang Dahai's calls and messages. He was asking about his whereabouts and why he was not there for classes. Then he stopped asking 10 days ago. Probably he had heard about Wang Xian's updates from Xiaoyu. Then, it was Old Qin and Old Shui's messages. Wang Xian replied to them one by one. Let's go back to school. Wang Xian pondered. No matter what, he could not be expelled from the school. He intended to visit the principal or send some gifts to him. I need to go to school. I'll take you to the medical hall tomorrow. Wang Xian told Sun Lingxiu. Sure, I'll look for my master later on. Sun Lingxiu nodded. Wang Xian nodded. After lunch, he went outside with Imo Qinglong following behind him. Let's get a cab. We'll go to school. Wang Xian instructed Imo Qinglong, who was following behind him. Young master, we don't have to take a cab. I bought a car recently. Imo Qinglong chuckled as he told Wang Xian. You bought a car? What car? Wang Xian was stunned and asked with interest. When Wang Xian had told Imo Qinglong to buy a car some time ago, he was ready to get a Rolls-Royce or Maybach. Both of the car models were impressive, and they looked cool on the road. A caravan. Imo Qinglong smiled and replied. Caravan? Wang Xian was stupefied for a second. Immediately, he laughed. Caravan is good. It's more comfortable to take a caravan. Imo Qinglong fitted the role of steward quite well. No car was as comfortable as a caravan. Young master, the car is over here. Come with me. Imo Qinglong walked towards the back of the villa where there was an open car park. When Wang Xian came to the car park, he saw the huge caravan parked in the lot. The entire vehicle was painted black. It looked more like a huge truck than a caravan. The entire vehicle was at least 10 meters long. This is the German-made MAN 8x8 cross-country caravan. It's 11 meters long, too, 5 meters wide and almost 4 meters tall. It weighs 21 tons. After some special modifications to the vehicle, it is explosion-proof. Even level 8 martial artists cannot smash the door open easily. It will not be damaged, even when hit by a rocket. Imo Qinglong introduced the vehicle to Wang Xian with a beaming face. How is it, young master? Do you like it? Impressive. With his eyes brightened up, Wang Xian walked to the front of the vehicle. The entire car was overbearing after the modifications. If this vehicle collides with another vehicle on the road, wouldn't it crush the other car? Wang Xian was dumbfounded as he opened the door. The entire vehicle was like a small house with a bedroom, washroom, living room, and dining area. It even came with a spiral staircase which led to this second floor of the vehicle. The roof of the vehicle was a convertible one. Once the roof was opened, it would turn into something like the Flybridge yacht that has an open living room. An electrical adjustable table was located in the middle. The interior of the entire vehicle was extremely luxurious. Great, not bad. Wang Xian was delighted, as this vehicle was even cooler than those Rolls-Royces and Maybachs. From the outside, the entire vehicle looked just like a pickup. Those who had no knowledge about caravans would not know that this was a luxurious caravan. The car took more than half a month and more than 10 million to complete the customizations and modifications. Mo Qinglong smiled and said, "Young master, sit tight. I'll take you to school." "Okay." Wang Xian nodded and sat on the sofa inside while observing the interior. The vehicle was well equipped with smart appliances such as a TV and computers. When the car hit the road, he could not feel any bumps from the inside. It was very quiet inside as the soundproof walls were quite effective. "Gee," Wang Xian giggled as he lay on the sofa with a cup of tea. He sipped the tea with a beaming face. "Young master, the school guard forbade us from entering, as our vehicle is too big." Mo Qinglong's voice was heard after half an hour. Wang Xian was stunned for a second as he was speechless. "I'll get down. You'll wait for me here." "Yes, young master." Wang Xian opened the door and stepped down from the car. A bunch of students were driving sports cars a few days ago. This is even better, it's a pickup. Students are really full of ideas nowadays. As soon as Wang Xian walked out of the car, he heard the muttering of the school guard. Wang Xian smiled and walked into the school as the school guard watched him curiously. Chapter 226, Exchange Student. Wang Xian looked at the time and sent Wang Dahai a message. Soon, he got a reply. "The lesson just started. Hurry up and come over." Wang Xian quickened his steps to the classroom after reading the message. When he reached the doorstep of the classroom, he heaved a sigh of relief after realizing that the lecturer wasn't the strict one. Instead, this lecturer, who was teaching information technology engineering, was funny. "I am here to report." Wang Xian shouted at the doorstep when he saw the lecturer didn't notice him. "Whoa, isn't this the famous student, Wang Xian? How many lessons have you skipped? I reckon you will need to retake the module," the middle-aged lecturer said mockingly while looking at Wang Xian. Wang Xian smiled but remained silent. "Come on in. There is still a seat in the first row. Listen attentively," said the lecturer while pointing to an empty seat in the first row. The lecturer didn't question further. Wang Xian smiled bitterly while walking to the first row. The tables of the classroom were all arranged in rows of 4, and there happened to be an empty seat in the first row of the room. Wang Xian went over to sit down. However, when he looked to the side, he was shocked. He did not know any of his classmates in the first row. There were 2 rather good-looking girls who looked like twins, and a lean and modest guy wearing a pair of glasses. Wang Xian truly couldn't recognize them. There weren't that many people in the previous classes. He looked around and was surprised to find more than 10 unfamiliar faces. While Wang Xian observed his classmates, they were observing him too. The current Wang Xian was well known throughout the entire school. Not only was he chosen by 2 goddesses, but he was also filthy rich. He was the owner of first-grade restaurant and had bought a luxurious car for his sister, which was worth about $3 to $4 million. Furthermore, he possessed formidable individual strength. One could say that he was the most eye-catching student in the University of Rivertown. Even those whom Wang Xian did not know were looking at him. Wang Xian was about 1.8 meters tall and well-dressed. His handsome face also had a unique quality. With his smiling face, his disposition, and his handsome looks, many male celebrities weren't as attractive as him. Being handsome would naturally attract more attention. If he was not in a lesson, there might be some students who would surround him. Wang Xian looked and smiled at the beautiful twins beside him before looking forward. The lesson started, and the lecturer was lecturing like usual. With Wang Xian's current memory and comprehension skills, he could easily catch up with the progress simply by flipping through the contents taught previously. Wang Xian came to understand where these new joiners had come from while listening to the lecture. They were exchange students from University of Modu. The discipline of information technology engineering in the University of Rivertown was top-notch in the entire country and attracted various exchange students who would come to the University of Rivertown each year. Similarly, some students from the University of Rivertown would also head to the University of Modu for exchange. Often, the exchange would last 2 semesters, which equated to a year. "Class has ended," announced the lecturer. An hour later, the bell that signaled the end of the lesson rang. The lecturer knocked on the table and left. "Brother Xian, you are finally here. I thought you had died from a mishap and wouldn't be returning." "Wang Xian, you still know you have to come for lessons? Even the school counselors couldn't reach you. Incredible. You should bring some things to bribe the school counselor after skipping classes for so many days. Big boss, when are you bringing our class to your restaurant for a meal?" Wang Xian was surrounded by his classmates immediately after the class had ended. Wang Dehai and Zhang Wen even ran over while questioning him. I was busy for the last few weeks and hence I didn't attend the classes," Wang Xian explained with a smile. He continued, "Just wait a few more days. I will definitely bring everyone to my restaurant a few days from now." "We've got to hug his thigh tightly. Wang Xian, you have the thickest thighs in our class," the students joked. The beautiful twins were looking at the crowd around Wang Xian, feeling puzzled. "Hey, can you guys stop pushing around?" A displeased voice sounded at this moment. Instantly, the commotion around Wang Xian died down substantially. "I'm sorry, Hua Ziming. We are sorry. We are sorry." The classmates quickly apologized. Wang Xian looked over to check what was happening. For people were sitting there, and every single one of them was wearing a branded outfit and a branded watch. The one that spoke was the guy sitting in the middle. He was good-looking and his hair was slightly long. He looked just like a rich young man often portrayed in dramas. "Dehai, Zhang Feng and Zhang Wen, let's go outside," Wang Xian said to Wang Dehai, Zhang Feng and Zhang Wen. As they walked out, the trio laughed. The 4 guys sitting at the back stared at Wang Xian as he left. The one guy who was seated closest to the door asked a girl beside him, "Who is that?" "Han Juming, that is Wang Xian. He's the most well-known person in the school currently. He established his own business and is now very rich." "Oh, right. The restaurant where you gave the class a treat a few days back belongs to him." 2 goddesses in school openly declared their love for him. Even the coach of the Taekwondo club, Yin Hu, said he was not his match. "He's incredible," replied the girl with a bright smile. "Oh, is it so? A well-known person?" Han Juming laughed and looked at Hua Ziming. Hua Ziming snorted and showed contempt. "There are lots of unfamiliar faces in class," Wang Xian said to Wang Dehai and the group when they walked out. "Yes, there are quite a number of them. The 4 that came to our class are relatively influential. They were all born with silver spoons in their mouths. A few days back, they brought the whole class to your restaurant and spent more than $500,000 after discount. Furthermore, Hua Ziming defeated Su Qingcheng with a single strike. He is really strong. Although they just came to our school, they are quite well known. All of them drive supercars and are a little arrogant," replied Zhang Wen enviously. "I think the most incredible exchange student is the girl named Mu Wanwan. You might know about her, but she is simply stunning. She's comparable to Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing. More than 10 rich second-generation guys have confessed to her since she came. I heard she's the reason why many other rich second-generation guys from Modu came here for exchange. TSK. Our school is rather famous now," Wang Dehai continued. "Really?" Wang Xian replied with a smile. "The twins in our class are pretty good-looking too. Those twins are a pair of internet celebrities with a few million fans online. They are pretty incredible, but I already have Su Qian. They are destined to not be able to be with me," Wang Dehai exaggerated. He continued, "Oh yes, old Wang. Lan Qingyue has returned to school, and she was seen with Guan Shuqing each time. Brother, what's your view on this?" Is there something fishy going on? Is there? Wang Xian shook his head slightly and said. Wang Xian was stunned as the trio stared at him. Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue clearly had some agreements between them. He was probably going to be penalized if they caught him looking at other girls. Let's go, old Wang. We can continue our chat at the back of the class. Wang Dahai said to the rest as the bell that signaled the start of class rang. Wang Xian nodded, and the four of them headed back to class. When they were at the back of the class, Wang Dahai, Zhang Wan, and Zhang Feng were surprised to see their seats taken. There were 4 more seats at the back, but these seats were also taken by the beautiful twins. Hey, friends, these are our seats. Our books are still on the table too, said Wang Dahai as he frowned at Hua Ziming, Han Junming, and the group. Chapter 227. Donating $50 million to the school. 1. Can you move to the front seats? Han Junming took the books and put them on the side of the table with a beaming face. He then turned to Wang Dahai and spoke with a smile. No, we're not used to sitting in the front seats since we're a bunch of slackers. Zhang Feng smiled. Only the straight-A students would prefer to sit in the front seats. People like them would find it torturous to sit at the front. Besides, if the 4 of them were 4 beauties, probably Wang Dahai, Zhang Feng, and the rest would not have any comments. But since they were hunks, all the more they would not agree to it. Han Junming narrowed his eyes as he stared at the quartet standing at the side. All the students in the class were back. Some of them looked at Wang Dahai, Zhang Feng, and the rest with surprise. Hey guys, since Han Junming said they want to sit here, you should just let them be. They bought everyone lunch a few days ago. Can't you just give in to such a simple request? Before Han Junming and his clique could answer, the beautiful twins at the back spoke. They were playing with their phones as they peered at Wang Xian and his clique through the corners of their eyes. Just because he bought us lunch doesn't mean he can take someone's seats. Zhang Wen frowned as he stared at the beautiful twins. Besides, do you know that we had a 50% discount when we were at the first-grade restaurant? Have they ever given a discount before? Do you think the food you had at that time only cost $500,000? That's right. This is a separate issue. Didn't you hear Guan Shuqing say she will give us a 50% discount? We really have nothing to say if you're taking this matter as your bargaining chip. Wang Dahai shrugged and told the beautiful twins frankly. It's not much. We don't need a discount anyway. Han Junming smiled with no intention of leaving his seat. The remaining 3 people disregarded them completely as they continued playing on their phones with arrogant and aloof looks. Wang Xian found it funny upon seeing their attitudes. Do you think my roommates need your treat when they come to my restaurant? Get out of the way and stop embarrassing yourself. 4 of them knit their eyebrows as they lifted their heads and stared at Wang Xian with dissatisfaction. Their gazes were cold. Che, such petty men. We will give our seats to you. The beautiful twins sitting at the back were furious as they stood up, glaring at Wang Xian and his clique. This is none of your business. Trying to seek attention? Wang Xian frowned as he looked at the beautiful twins with impatience. The twins revealed a hint of anger on their faces. Enough. Both of you can stop your nagging. That's just annoying. Wang Dahai told the twins off and turned to the 4 guys. Get out of the way. Bam. Han Junming, Hua Ziming, and the other 2 guys stood up slowly. With their chins up, they glared coldly at Wang Dahai, Wang Xian, and the rest. We're starting our class. Why are you guys still standing there? Just then, an old man with a pair of spectacles walked in. He gazed at the back of the class and spoke in a stern voice. Brat, you're arrogant. Just you wait. Han Junming stared at Wang Xian with icy cold eyes. The well-known figure in school? Hua Ziming gave a vague smile, and the 4 of them walked to the front with an expressionless face. This is the University of Rivertown, said Wang Xian impassively. Back to your seats now. The professor raised his voice and said to everyone in the class. The rest of the classmates looked at Wang Xian first, and then Hua Ziming's clique. What a show-off, Wang Dahai whispered as he looked at him with an unhappy look. Wang Xian smiled and sat down. He did not care about the quartet. If they were to seek trouble, he would teach them a lesson. Learn to stay low in Rivertown. The class began, and the four people at the back exchanged communication in whispers when the professor was not paying attention to them. Wang Dahai, Zhang Wan, Zhang Feng were hopeless students. They only studied at the last minute when it was time for examinations. Wang Xian used to be all right, but now he had also caved in. Bring your girlfriends for dinner tonight. I'll go to the counselor's office first thing after school. Wang Xian began to cram after he said this. Old Wang, we'll wait for you at the school in trance. Wang Dahai, Zhang Wan, and Zhang Feng said to Wang Xian when the dismissal bell rang. Okay, I'll look for the counselor now. Wang Xian nodded and went to the teaching building with a beaming face. That fellow is super arrogant. Should we teach him a lesson? Any hidden talents in this small river town are totally incomparable to us. How dare he act snobbish in front of us? I can't stand it. Hee, we'll have our chance to play with him. Hua Ziming and the rest of the three stood up slowly in the class. The pair of beautiful twins immediately joined in. Hey, get this board up and draw some pictures on it. It must be perfect this time. Yes, then we will take some photos and post in the forum. Let's see if we can get some donations for Wu Huan. The teaching building was located in the center region of the school. Wang Xian went in and saw some students from the student council working on the campus board for the school on his way. He swept a glance at it and pondered. Wang Xian recognized the University of Rivertown as a good school, and the counselors were helpful too. When he was just admitted to the university, his results were excellent. When the counselor found out about his family situation, he even applied a tuition grant for a semester from the school for him. Even though every school had such vacancies for assisting the needy students, Wang Xian was very grateful as a beneficiary. The few $1,000s was a considerable sum of money to him back then. Why don't I repay the school and, at the same time, settle the problem of skipping school in the future? Wang Xian smiled as he continued on his way to the teaching building. The counselor's office was located on the 3rd floor. Wang Xian went up and knocked on the office door. Come in. A voice was heard from the room. He opened the door and realized that many teachers were having conversations inside the room. With some embarrassment, he noticed that all subject teachers were inside. Mr. Li. Wang Xian looked at his counselor and walked towards him. You're here for classes? Come, let me check how many days of lessons you have missed. When the counselor saw Wang Xian, he beckoned him over with slight frustration. I couldn't get through to your phone, and you don't reply to my messages. I thought you went to outer space. Wang Xian giggled. Counselor Li was a kind-hearted person in the eyes of every student. He was 30 years old, and he was responsible at his work. Hence, Wang Xian had a good impression of him and did not mind his reprimanding. After all, he was in the wrong. He would not go against the counselor just because he was much more powerful than before. Mr. Li, I've been a little busy recently. My phone has some issues. Hence I didn't receive your call. Chapter 228. Donating $50 million to the school too. Spare me your excuses. This isn't a valid reason for you to skip classes. Look at how many lessons you've missed and the academic credits that will be deducted. If your exam results aren't satisfactory, you will have to repeat the year. Counselor Li reprimanded. He stared at Wang Xian, walked to the side and took out a notebook. Oh, Wang Xian, you've missed 5 of my lessons. I will deduct it from your academic credits. If your credits aren't sufficient, you will have to repeat my classes next year. An old professor turned to look at Wang Xian and said, Young man, you shouldn't be skipping classes and not studying hard. You are only in your 2nd year. Now is the time to be studying and working hard. Wang Xian, you didn't come for any of my political classes this semester. You can't continue like this. A few lecturers that taught Wang Xian commented directly. You little rascal missed over 50 lessons. Under such circumstances, we will have to serve you a warning. The counselor held the notebook and said, It's okay to not serve you a warning. However, you must promise me that you will be present for every lesson from now on. On top of that, You must guarantee that you will not fail any modules. The reputable professor said to Wang Xian. Professor Gua has spoken for you. It's all right for me to not serve the warning, but I'm sure you will have also heard what he said. Can you achieve it? Said Counselor Li. The school's warning would be reflected in the transcript. If one was served a warning, it would have a negative influence on his job prospects in the future. The old professor was also giving Wang Xian a chance. Wang Xian hesitated. Having heard what the old professor and Counselor Li had said, he sank into a dilemma. It was hard for him to promise he would not skip class in the future. After seeing Wang Xian's expression, Professor Gua said sternly with a solemn face, "What's the matter? You aren't willing? I will have to give you a warning then. You've got to think it through. Don't be arrogant just because of the little achievement you accomplished. The curriculum of the university course isn't that tight after all." Cough, cough. It might be a little hard for me to not skip classes, Wang Xian replied shyly. Huh? Professor Gua raised his volume, and Counselor Li, who was beside him, also stared at Wang Xian. Professor Gua, Counselor Li, I love the University of Rivertown deeply. Furthermore, our teachers have also taught us to be useful people to society. I just saw Wu Huan from our school raising money for her leukemia. Now that I have accomplished something, let me pay for her medical fees, Wang Xian said righteously to Professor Gua and Counselor Li. Medical fees? Professor Gua, Counselor Li, and the rest of the lecturers were taken aback by Wang Xian's response. The medical fees for the treatment of leukemia weren't cheap at all. It could range from $500,000 to a few million. Brat, you must be thinking of using this to convince us to let you pass by the back door. Professor Gua stared at Wang Xian and remarked. Professor Gua, I don't have such intentions. I just feel that this is something I should do. When I first came to the University of Rivertown, I had nothing. My tuition fees for my second semester were only exempted thanks to Counselor Li. Since I have achieved something now, it's only natural for me to pay it forward. Wang Xian smiled and looked at Counselor Li. The sum could reach as high as $1 million. Counselor Li reminded him after pondering for some time. I know, answered Wang Xian with a nod before continuing. Besides that, to thank the school for waiving my fees for a semester, I would like to donate some money to the school. I hope the money can help those poor students in need. Brat, you are a kind guy. Professor Gua remarked as his stern face relaxed a little. As someone who was known throughout the school, the lecturers know a little about Wang Xian. They were glad that Wang Xian knew to repay the gratitude he received. Great. I will report to the principal about your intentions to donate. Tell me a figure. I will inform the principal about it when we have a meeting later in the day. If he knows that you have such intentions, he will be overjoyed, Counselor Li said with a smile. All right, Counselor Li. I will donate $50 million then. Wang Xian nodded. PFF. What? One of the lecturers who was drinking choked on his water and spat. He was completely shocked. Counselor Li and Professor Gua looked at Wang Xian with disbelief and were a little stunned. You, Wang Xian, how much did you say? Counselor Li jumped up directly and asked loudly. $50 million. Together with Wu Huan's medical fees, it would be $51 million. At that time, please help to transfer $1 million to Wu Huan. Wang Xian answered with a bright smile. $50 million. What the? The lecturers around exclaimed. $50 million. This wasn't a small sum. The University of Rivertown was an elite school with many successful alumni who had donated to the school as gratitude. However, a donation of $50 million could easily rank in the top 5 of all time. Wang Xian, are you sure? Counselor Li asked in disbelief. Yeah, I am, Wang Xian replied and nodded. I will give Principal Li a call and get him to come over, Professor Gua said with his eyes wide open, after which he took out his phone and dialed a number quickly. Wang Xian laughed and added, Counselor Li, there is nothing much I can do. I'd just like to go a little further and thank the school for its teachings. Brat, you sure are successful now. Counselor Li was shocked. I guess I'm doing fine. I have been busy with my business recently and therefore have neglected my studies. Counselor Lee and various lecturers, regarding the classes I might miss in the future, do you think you can? Wang Xian smiled and asked. All right. You are thinking of slapping us with money. However, it sure feels great. The school is where we educate our students. As your teachers, we are glad to see what you have done. However, even though you've earned some money, you must not forget about learning. Try your best to come to our lessons. If you have questions, you can come and look for us directly. Professor Guo hung up the phone and said to Wang Xian using an educating tone. Wang Xian smiled, nodded his head and said, Yes. Professor Guo is right. I will try my best to not fail any modules. Wait for a little longer. The principal is coming over soon. Oh, our celebrity student, find a place and have a seat. Hee. Professor Guo said with a smile. Wang Xian nodded and started chatting with a few lecturers. Soon, the principal arrived. With excitement written all over his face, he pushed the door open and asked, Where is Wang Xian? Come over. Wang Xian smiled and stood up. After discussing the donation with the principal, he left the office. This brat has a kind heart. There aren't many students who have such a sense of responsibility nowadays. $50 million isn't a small figure. Professor Guo exclaimed after Wang Xian had left. This student is pretty capable to be able to donate $50 million at such a young age. In addition, he has a caring heart. Counselor Lee added proudly. Since the $50 million is donated by Wang Xian, let's set up a department to manage this disbursement for needy students. We shall keep this transparent and can't disappoint our students. I hope our school will nurture more students with such a sense of responsibility. Chapter 229, Bulldozed Through 1. Our school nurtures talents. Wang Xian may have been wrong in skipping classes, but his sense of responsibility was stronger than anyone else. Let's just close one eye in the future. This is the most positive and encouraging matter at the University of Rivertown. Why not this? We can cut some of the expenses from this year's budget and pay for Wu Huan's medical bills. The $51 million donated by Wang Xian will be used in assisting the needy students. We cannot let the students think that the school is not doing as much as a student. The principal of the University of Rivertown said with excitement. Great. Agree. We can cut some of the welfare from the teacher's day. Some of the old professors and teachers in the office discussed with smiles emerging all over their faces. As part of the education industry, they were all top intellectuals and hence, they had stronger moral and social responsibilities than the average people. The world is still filled with kind-hearted people. Wang Xian walked out of the office with smiles as he was in a chirpy mood. He could have made a call to the school and gotten them to turn a blind eye on his absence. He could have even graduated easily without going through examinations. But he did not do that. He could simply be cocky or even crush some of the people. However, he still had his own principles for some of the things. Wang Xian did not think he was a good-natured person, but he tried not to be a villain. He would treat others the same as how others would treat him. With a chirpy mood, Wang Xian headed out of the school. He came to the entrance and saw Wang Dahai and the gang waiting for him there. Have you settled it, old Wang? Did the counselor say anything? Wang Dahai yelled to Wang Xian as soon as he saw him walking out. Everything is settled. Wang Xian nodded with a smile. Let's go and have our dinner. Let's go. Follow the thigh and we get to enjoy it. Zhang Feng and Zhang Wen joked along with their girlfriends. Buzz. Just then, the booming sound of the sports cars was heard at the school entrance. Wow, it's Hua Ziming and the other three hunks. Lamborghini Aventador, Aston Martin, Vanquish, Ferrari FF, and Ferrari F12 Berlinetta. All the cars cost more than $5 million each. These four people from Modu are filthy rich. They are rich and handsome. How fucking unfair is the world? Wow, so cool. They are cool sports cars. For cars add up to more than 20 million. Hua Ziming and his gang are so cool. How nice it would be I could be one of their girlfriends. All the students exclaimed in awe at the entrance. The guys were jealous while the girls looked into the cars with admiration. The 4 cars lined up in a horizontal row, heading out. The 4 of them had smirks on their faces. Honk! Suddenly, Hua Ziming in the center honked his horn with a taunting look when he saw the people in front of them. The other 3 at the side looked in his direction. Hua Ziming, with a smile, gestured ahead and asked, "Let's have a game, shall we?" Han Junming and the rest froze for a second and peered ahead. "Sure, let's have a game then," all of them looked at each other and said. 3, 2, 1. Han Junming, whose car was on the exterior side, began his countdown with a taunting look. When he counted to 1, the engines of the 4 sports cars roared. Superior sports cars like these had terrifying speed when their engines powered up. They charged forward as though they were irritable bulls. Vroom! Eek! The vrooming engine sounds and the shrieks from the tires rubbing on the ground cut through the air at the same time. Wang Xian and his clique ahead were slightly stunned when they heard the car engines behind them. Ah! When the girlfriends of Zhang Wen, Wang Dahai, and Zhang Wen saw the 4 sports cars charging at them at high speed, they screamed in horror. Wang Dahai and the rest had drastic changes in their expressions. Their faces paled instantly. However, 4 of the sports cars swerved and made a drift around them. Wang Xian and the rest were surrounded by the cool-looking drifts. Waves of air hit Wang Xian and the group, bringing about dust in the air. For Supreme sports cars were drifting uniformly together. Such skills and visual impact struck awe to everyone. FML, that's so cool. Drifts. They look stunning when 4 cars drift together. Not even a racer has such skills. Cool. So freaking cool. The surrounding students and onlookers watched with their mouths open as the 4 sports cars did their drifts. Thrills were climbing all over their faces. Fuck you. Wang Dahai, who was in the center, hugged Su Qian and scolded furiously. His face was a little pale. Zhang Wan, Zhang Feng, and their girlfriends were looking bad. When the cars charged and drifted around them, they got the shock of their lives. Wang Xian, who was standing in the center of the group, narrowed his eyes as his expression sank. Vroom. After making 4 to 5 rounds of drifts, the 4 sports cars lined up in a row again. 4 faces appeared before Wang Xian and his clique. Wow, that's so cool. Junming, you're amazing. A thrilled voice was heard from the sports car. Wang Dahai and the rest opened their eyes and looked over with awful expressions. Hua Ziming, Han Junming, and the rest were driving a sports car individually while the beautiful twins were sitting in Han Junming and another guy's car respectively. At this time, the twins were shouting excitedly as they threw a glance at Wang Xian and the rest with mocking expressions. Hee hee brat, this is Rivertown. But, so what? Han Junming opened the roof of the car. With a pair of sunglasses, he placed his arm on the car door. He looked provocative as he asked Wang Xian, "Hey, I don't care where this place is, but you better watch yourself. Otherwise, the game is on. How do you find our driving skills? Want us to do it again?" Another 2 guys looked at them with smiling faces. "Don't ever provoke us again. You guys can't bear the consequences after that." Hua Ziming, in the middle, lifted his chin as he taunted Wang Xian and his clique disdainfully. "Fuck you." Upon hearing the insults, Zhang Feng, Zhang Wan, and Wang Dahai were furious. Wang Dahai, who was as impatient as always, almost wanted to charge at them. "Dahai? No. We can't afford to mess with them." Su Qian quickly held him back. "Forget it. Let's ignore them." Zhang Wan and Zhang Feng's girlfriends were all pale. None of them looked simple. Let's not offend them. Each one of them was driving a sports car that cost more than 5 million. They could not afford to mess around with people who could afford to drive cars like this. In their opinion, even Wang Xian was far from them. Trash. Don't be too cocky next time. The beautiful twins showed their middle fingers in the sports cars with contempt. Chapter 230. Bulldozed through 2. Oh, freak. How did that group offend Hua Ziming and his friends? That's right. How did they offend Hua Ziming and his friends? They are really unlucky. I heard that Hua Ziming and his other 3 friends are really fierce. Hua Ziming, Han Junming, and the other 2 guys come from very strong families. They are also formidable themselves. The drift just now was simply stunning. They are just humiliating them. Isn't that Wang Xian? Yeah, that's Wang Xian, the most well-known person in our school. He went missing for some time. How did he offend Hua Ziming and his friends? The surrounding students conversed and gathered over inquisitively. It really is Wang Xian. He is easily one of the more incredible students in the school and is earning big bucks at such a young age. However, he's still not comparable with Hua Ziming, Han Junming, and his group of friends. Wang Xian bought a Bentley worth $3 to $4 million for his sister and is also powerful. However, it is clear that Han Junming and his group of friends are more incredible. They each own a supercar that is worth at least $5 million. I heard their families are all filthy rich with assets worth over hundreds of trillions. They are also influential in Modu, the place where the rich gather. The crowd discussed softly. Although Wang Xian was great and owned the first-grade restaurant, a restaurant known throughout the country, he was still a far cry from these people with filthy rich parents. Just take a look at the supercars they are driving. Every single one of them cost more than $5 million. The crowd in the school didn't think that Wang Xian would be as rich and influential as them. Furthermore, Hua Ziming and the group were powerful. They had challenged Su Qingqing a while back and defeated him with a single move. This was something that even Kochian who couldn't do. Although the 4 of them were exchange students who had just come to the University of Rivertown, their fame and strength had seemingly edged past Wang Xian's. Wang Xian walked towards the supercar with a cold expression amidst the arrogant looks of the group. The twins even showed him their middle fingers with contempt. Old Wang, let it go. Let's not be calculative with them. Wang Dehai stepped forward and spoke to Wang Xian as he saw Wang Xian walking over. Yes, old Wang. Let's not be calculative with them. Damn it. They are just exchange students here, and yet they are already so arrogant. Zhang Feng and Zhang Wen walked over and tried to convince Wang Xian while holding back their anger. Wang Xian waved his hand at them and walked to the supercar closest to him. He stepped on the bonnet with his right foot. The 4 of you sure are arrogant, Wang Xian remarked coldly. Get your foot off, Han Junming replied coldly when he saw Wang Xian stepping on his supercar. Put it down. You can't afford to pay for this car, the beautiful twins said to Wang Xian with contempt. Bam bam. Wang Xian smiled coldly and stepped a few times on it. He looked at them and warned, let me tell you this again. You are in Rivertown right now. If you want to play, I'll play with you. Driving skills? Let me show you what driving skills are. And I would love to see if the outcome is something I can endure. Wang Xian answered coldly in response to what the 4 of them had said to him. Fuck. I'm asking you to lift your damn feet. Can't you hear me? Han Junming shouted. Not only did Wang Xian ignore him, but Wang Xian also stepped a few more times on the bonnet. Han Junming got out of the car furiously, following which, the other 3 also alighted. Damn it, Wang Xian is trying to go head-to-head with Hua Ziming, Han Junming, and their friends. He is not being rational. It is clear that Wang Xian couldn't handle all 4 of them at the same time. Will a fight start between them? The crowd was shocked by the development of events and started whispering. Put your foot down. Can't you hear me? Han Junming stared harshly at Wang Xian while Hua Ziming and the other 2 guys walked over with a gloomy expression. Wang Xian smiled and replied, Since you want to play, I'll play along with you. He moved his feet away as he finished his line before walking to the side of the car. Rascal, I'm warning you. Don't test my patience, Han Junming said coldly to Wang Xian while pointing at him. Interesting. No one dares to talk to me like this in Rivertown, Wang Xian remarked. He looked back and waved his hand slightly. The driving skills you have shown me aren't impressive at all. Let me show you something fancier. Virum virum. As Wang Xian spoke, the sound of the engine revving roared loudly from a short distance away. The revving of the engine resembled that of the roar of a beast. To the astonishment of the crowd, A huge black car charged towards them as the crowd scampered in a hurry to get out of the way. Oh fuck, is that a lorry? Man, that's a caravan. That's a caravan. What a domineering car. It looks just like a military vehicle. The crowd looked towards the black monster in shock as it charged ahead. It was close to 4 meters tall and over 10 meters in length. Its tire alone was already half the height of a person. Man, as its name would suggest, is a brand of cross-country caravan. It was incomparably domineering. The domineering car that resembled a huge beast charged forward directly. This is... oh my god, what is that big car trying to do? Exclamations from the crowd erupted. When Han Juming, Hua Ziming, and their friends saw the huge car charging towards them, their expressions changed abruptly. Read comics on our web novel. Live. Boom. To the disbelief of everyone, the domineering caravan charged directly towards the 4 supercars. The huge tires were almost as tall as the supercars. To the astonishment of the crowd, it bulldozed through. A premium cross-country caravan could easily manage a 40-degree slope. A supercar which had a low body would seem miniature in front of it. The gigantic caravan weighed over 20 tons. It is easy to imagine the outcome if it rammed over a supercar that weighed just over a ton. It was just like what everyone had witnessed. To everyone's amazement, the first supercar collapsed the moment the giant caravan went over it. When the rear wheels rolled over, the supercar sank and almost hit the ground. One should note that the giant caravan had 8 wheels. The supercar was totally deformed and white smoke rose from it. Soon, the second supercar followed the fate of the first. Lamborghini Aventador, Aston Martin Vanquish, Ferrari FF, Ferrari F12 Berlinetta. One after another, they were flattened. The cracking sounds were eerily sharp in the silent crowd. This made the crowd's breathing quicken a little. Bam! When the black giant caravan crushed the last supercar, it came to an abrupt and heavy stop. Just like how beasts stopped after besieging a city. Crack, crack. The doors to the black giant caravan opened. From it, a middle-aged man walked down with a bright smile. He looked at Wang Xian and asked, "Young master, how are my driving skills?" As he spoke, he looked at the 4 cars as though he was enjoying his masterpieces. "I'll leave the judging to the 4 of them," Wang Xian replied happily. Chapter 231. Show me what you've got for you to be cocky in Rivertown. Boom. This? Gosh. Shocking. Every moment unfolding before them struck horror into everyone. 4 super sports cars became 4 piles of useless metal now. The cars were in a disastrous state and were almost scraps. Everyone found it incredible. These are sports cars worth more than $20 million. A guy could not help but exclaim. Each of these 4 sports cars was like a dream car to them. Yet, they turned to scraps of iron before them. The exclamations brought the dumbfounded quartet to their senses. All their expressions recovered from their shock and turned extremely awful and hideous as they looked at Wang Xian. "You are asking for death." Words came out as a soft growl from Hua Ziming's mouth as he glared at Wang Xian with a pair of murderous eyes. "How dare you crush our cars?" The other 3 held their fists tightly as they fixed their bloodthirsty eyes on Wang Xian. "Aren't you giving any comment? How are my driving skills?" Imo Qinglong was the one who drove. He looked at Hua Ziming and the rest with a taunting look as he walked over. "You're fucking digging your own graves." Han Juming gave Imo Qinglong a death stare as he said fiercely. "Hee hee." Wang Xian looked at them and revealed a cold smile. "This is Rivertown. Show me what you've got for you to be cocky here. I'll be right here waiting for you." Gosh, this is damn awesome. He's too domineering. He just bulldozed with his car and crushed the 4 super sports cars. That's just overbearing. Scary. He dared to turn 4 super sports cars that are worth $20 million into something like this. Is this Wang Xian? He's more domineering than what we imagined. Such an imposing demeanor. No wonder the 2 goddesses from our school took a fancy of him. Impressive. I'm convinced by his overbearing demeanor. This is too shocking. Senior Wang Xian is so cool, so domineering. Show me what you've got for you to be cocky here. I'll be right here waiting for you. Senior Wang Xian sounded so cocky, but I like it. I worship him. Wang Xian has nothing to fear. He just crashed those sports cars that are worth $20 million, just like toys. The surrounding crowd exploded into commotions. They pointed and commented excitingly. All of them were impressed by Wang Xian, who was standing at the center impassively. Given his guts and the things he did and said, he was invincible. Damn, I feel so good now. How dare the outsiders play punks at our place? They drove their sports cars everywhere as if they were afraid that no one knows they are rich. That's right. Well done. I hope Junior Wang Xian can totally suppress them. Some of the guys felt good about it. They were already unhappy with the quartet for being flashy and arrogant. Looks like we can have a good game. I hope you are ready to bear the consequences for being arrogant. Hua Ziming clenched his fists tightly. He took out his phone slowly with an icy cold face. If you can't compensate us for our car repair fees by tenfold, I'll make sure you get it from me. Han Junming squinted his eyes. With a blackened face, he took out his phone too. Half an hour. I'll just wait for half an hour. Wang Xian said sarcastically when he saw them taking out their phones. You'll regret it soon. A guy swept an angry glance at Wang Xian and said coldly. The surrounding spectators frowned when they saw Hua Ziming and Han Junming take out their phones. Hua Ziming and the rest had strong backings. Senior Wang Xian seems confident. I don't think he's afraid of them. If it was just one or two of them, there'd be nothing to fear. But it is hard to say when four of them come together. Nonetheless, I'm still supporting Senior Wang Xian. As the surrounding people were commenting, more and more people crowded over and joined in on the discussion with disbelief. Wan, it's Hua Ziming, Han Junming, and his clique. They seem to have some conflicts with that Wang Xian. Their sports cars were rolled over by that large cross-country caravan. Oh, really? Hua Ziming and his clique are really high profile. The four of them just want to act haughty in Rivertown. Would they dare to be this arrogant back in Modu? But given their strength, no one is their match in Rivertown. That Wang Xian was courting his own doom. That's right. Apart from a miracle doctor in Rivertown, the rest of the people and families are nothing to them. Hee. I bet they have nothing to do to show off their strength in this small place. 5 people were letting out soft laughter as they gazed at the crowd. Out of the 5 people, there was a pretty girl with makeup and tight-fitting clothes that exhibited her curvy figure altogether. She was a little haughty as she overlooked the spot before her with faint disdain. Quick, young Master Run ordered us to send these 4 super sports cars for repairs. Director Chin, is it a car accident? 4 super sports cars were hit? I think so. The one who called young Master Ren has strong power. Just get over here now. In less than 20 minutes, several trailers parked on the side. About 8 men came down from the cars and headed towards the crowd. Gosh, these 4 cars are in bad shape. Looks like they were rolled over by that huge pickup. The repair cost would be at least a few $1,000,000. Yes, what a disaster. Why didn't they call the insurance company to settle this? Director Chin squeezed himself into the crowd, and he was surprised when he saw the 4 sports cars. Each of them cost $5 million and above. No wonder they called young Master Ren and Director Chin to rush down and settle this. Who is young Master Luo? Director Chin asked carefully as he stared at the group. You were the one sent by Renanji? Tow the 4 sports cars away and quote me a price for the repair fees. One of them from the quartet looked at Director Chin with cold eyes as he spoke immediately. Yes, young Master Luo. Got it. Director Chin quickly nodded. Young Master Ren had reminded him to treat them respectfully. Hence, they must be some big shots. What if you can't afford the repair fees by tenfold? Haha. Young Master Luo glared at Wang Xian coldly. He asked as he narrowed his murderous eyes. Director Chin was curious as he traced the direction young Master Luo was looking at. Her. All of a sudden, Director Chin froze and his body stiffened with shock flashing in his eyes. With a stiff neck, he turned around and saw the black, gigantic pickup not far away. He swallowed his saliva. Without any hesitation, Director Qin walked to Wang Xian and put on a sincere and pleased smile. Young Master Wang, how do you find the modified Man 8x8 cross-country caravan from Germany? It's absolutely domineering. Look at how it crushes 4 supercars easily. Young Master Wang, let me send someone over to check if there are any scratches. Chapter 232. Your son has gotten into trouble. Young Master Wang, how do you feel about the modified Man 8x8 cross-country caravan from Germany? It's absolutely domineering. Look at how it crushes 4 supercars easily. Young Master Wang, let me send someone over to see if anything is scratched. Director Qin's voice pierced the silence and shocked everyone in the vicinity. What's the situation now? What is happening? Hadn't Director Qin still talked deferentially to Luo Jiyu about the cars a while ago? Why did he say such things now? Moreover, why is he acting so deferentially toward Wang Xian? Director Qin's puzzling actions shocked everyone in the vicinity. Luo Jiyu, who stood there with his head lifted up high and had demanded 10 times compensation a while ago, was stunned. Seeing Director Qin asking 2 maintenance workers to check the caravan that just rammed over their cars, Luo Jiyu's expression turned gloomy. Asshole, what are you doing? What did Renan Ji, that idiot, ask you to do here? Luo Jiyu stared harshly at Director Qin and shouted loudly. I naturally know what I'm supposed to do here. Do I need you to remind me? When Director Qin heard Luo Jiyu, he lifted his chest and retorted with contempt. He didn't have the same respectful attitude towards Luo Jiyu at all. The look in his eyes was full of taunts. Young Master Ren had instructed him here to handle this matter. At the same time, young Master Ren emphasized that he had to be respectful. However, the moment he saw Wang Xian and the modified cross-country caravan at the side, he knew what he should be doing instead. As a confidant to young Master Ren, he knew a lot of things. This included how young Master Ren had to be respectful to young Master Wang as though young Master Wang was his grandparent. This included how the father of young Master Ren, who was also the Ren family head, had to be respectful when dealing with Wang Xian. This included the fact that Wang Xian, who was a devil-like existence in his eyes, had annihilated the Yin family and Lu family. Within the circle of the most influential and wealthy people in Rivertown, all of them knew that you could offend anyone in Rivertown, but not young Master Wang, who was also known as Miracle Dr. Wang. He was truly the most horrifying person in Rivertown. Today, Director Qin believed that even if young Master Ren had come personally, he would probably choose to offend Luo Jiyu instead. In fact, young Master Ren might just pick a fight with him. If young Master Ren knew of his actions, not only would young Master Ren not be angry, but he would also have a better appraisal of him. At the thought of this, a faint smile appeared on the face of Director Qin. He glanced at the 4 supercars that had been crushed, smiled lightly and remarked, It's your honor to have young Master Wang crush your cars. You. Luo Jiyu was shivering a little from anger. He stared coldly at Director Qin and clenched his fist tightly. What's the situation now? I'm totally confused. What is happening? Isn't that Director Qin someone Luo Jiyu had called over? That middle-aged man addressed Wang Xian as young Master Wang. That's not a common address nowadays. The surrounding crowd was shocked and confused by the development as they whispered among themselves. Screech, screech, screech. At this moment, several luxurious cars drove towards the school and stopped by the side. The crowd was surprised and immediately knew that those were people Hua Ziming and his friends had summoned over. There are 10 Benzes. Moreover, their car plate numbers are in running order. Who are they? When the crowd saw the 10 black Benzes lining up neatly, their minds were blown away. Look, there are more at the back. At this moment, a teenager couldn't help but exclaim. He was pointing to the back as he shouted. Land Rovers. There are 8 Land Rovers. Oh my God. They are of the same model. Those are cars from the Enterprise Alliance Security Group. Oh my God. Enterprise Alliance Security Group is the largest security company in Rivertown. It is said that everyone in it is an expert. Cars drove over and stopped one after another. There were a total of 30 to 40 cars. Someone is alighting. The crowd looked in shock at the people who were alighting from the cars. They were all young men wearing black attire. At the very front, the driver, who was wearing a pair of white gloves, opened the door of the car in a hurry. From the car, an old man with a walking stick alighted. From him, one could feel the vibes of a really successful man. Chun-Hu. That old man resembles Chun-Hu. Someone from the crowd exclaimed loudly in disbelief. Who is Chun-Hu? Chun-Hu is the director of the East City Group. He's a billionaire in Rivertown. Many people have to address him as Master Hu when they see him. A billionaire? Wow, there are over 20 young men in suits following behind Chun-Hu. This lineup is so stunning. People are alighting from the Land Rovers too. Who are they? Oh my God. The director of Enterprise Alliance Security Group has come personally. Oh my God. He has actually come personally. There are so many people. Hua Ziming, Han Junming and their friends only made a call, and yet so many people have come. Moreover, they are all influential figures in Rivertown. Every single person in the crowd looked on in disbelief at the group of people who had just arrived. At the very front were 3 people. They were the director of East City Group, the director of Enterprise Alliance Security Group, and a middle-aged man giving off strong vibes. At this moment, the crowd looked to Wang Xian before looking at Hua Ziming, Han Junming, and their friends. Hee, they have all arrived. I hope you will be able to take the consequences. Han Junming looked at the group approaching them. His lips curved into a smile as he stared coldly at Wang Xian. We are starting the game now. I hope you could entertain us. Hua Ziming stretched his neck a little as he revealed a cold smirk. When the crowd saw the approaching group of people, they couldn't help but gasp. It's over. It's over. Senior Wang Xian is over. Damn it. I had not expected Hua Ziming and Han Junming to be so incredible. They are able to call upon these influential figures with a single call. Uncle Hu, Chun-Hu, Ah Wu. Hua Ziming, Han Junming and their friends smirked and greeted the approaching group of people. Who dares to bully Ziming? Let Uncle Hu teach him a lesson. There's no one to be afraid of in Rivertown. Young Master Han, who's the one who doesn't understand his position? Leave him to me. Young Master Zhou, I hope I'm not late. The middle-aged man, director of East City Group and director of Enterprise Alliance Security Group, met the greetings from Hua Ziming and his friends with radiant smiles. SSS. When the crowd heard how the 3 leaders addressed Hua Ziming and his friends, they gasped. They did not know about the middle-aged man, but Chun, who was the director of a large group and had assets of over $1 billion. The other man was also the director of a strong group. Yet, they were so deferential in front of them. Have they all arrived? Are there more? Wang Xian looked at the 3 men that had walked over with dozens of subordinates. He gave a gentle smile. Death is knocking at your door, and yet you acting so cockily, the beautiful twins remarked coldly. Huh. That is, however, when Hu Fei, Chun-Hu and Gong Wu saw Wang Xian, their bodies froze. Their stiff bodies shivered a little as they stopped in their tracks. At the same time, the 3 of them took out their phones and made a call. Brother Hua, your son has gotten into trouble. Director Han, your son has gotten into trouble. Second Master Zhou, your son has gotten into trouble. Chapter 233. Known throughout the University of Rivertown. Your son has gotten into trouble. 3 of them said the same thing at the same time. What's going on? Everyone was stunned when they saw 3 well-known figures pulling out their phones for calls. Hua Ziming, Han Junming and the rest froze for a moment as a bad feeling suddenly rose in their hearts when they heard their conversations. Uncle Hu. Hua Ziming's expression sank gradually as he called out to Hu Fei. Hu Fei peered at Hua Ziming through the corner of his eyes and ignored him. After he spoke to the person on the phone, he quickly walked towards Wang Xian. Young Master Wang, I didn't know that one of my big brother's sons had offended you. He said he will leave it to you as long as his son's life is spared. Young Master Wang, Director Han wants me to apologize to you. His son, Han Junming, is at your disposal. Young Master Wang, Second Master Zhou hopes you can spare his useless son's life. After Hu Fei went over, Chunlong and Gong Wu walked to Wang Xian immediately and spoke respectfully. Gosh, what's this situation now? God damn it. This? None of the surrounding spectators knew what to say as the event unfolded before them. Their shock was beyond words as they lacked the vocabulary to describe it. Hua Ziming, Han Junming, and the rest had called a group of people here. The staff member from the 4S car service who had just arrived ignored them as soon as he saw Wang Xian. He even mocked them. Another 3 big shots arrived, and they called their parents to tell them their sons had gotten themselves into trouble. Subsequently, the 3 big shots walked to Wang Xian and addressed him as young Master Wang with respect. The 3 big shots even told Wang Xian that he could do whatever he liked as long as he spared their lives. Oh gosh. Hua Ziming, Han Junming, and the rest parted their lips slightly, as they could not help but tremble for a moment. They gazed at Hu Fei, Chunlong, and Gong Wu in disbelief. Uncle Hu. Hua Ziming opened his mouth and called out once again. Shut up. Get over here now and make your apology. Your dad told me to break your legs if you can't settle this today. Hu Fei yelled at Hua Ziming. If you can make it back home, you'll be punished by the house rules. What? Hua Ziming trembled with a stupefied expression and fear flashed in his eyes. If you can make it back home. If you can make it back home. What if he couldn't? The answer was clear. Get over and apologize now. Hu Fei shouted at him once again with a stern face. Hua Ziming was filled with trepidation. Forget it. Just giving them some punishment will do. And I don't want to see them in Rivertown. Wang Xian looked at the 4 of them disdainfully before he spoke to Hu Fei, Chunlong, and Gong Wu. Thank you, young Master Wang. Their families will definitely give you a satisfactory answer. The 3 of them hurriedly replied. Wang Xian waved a dismissive hand and said to Wang Dahai and the rest, who were dumbfounded, let's go for our dinner. Don't let some trash spoil our mood. Let's go. Wang Dahai and the rest stared with their wide and round eyes before they followed Wang Xian to the first-grade restaurant. You guys are asking for trouble. Of all the people in Rivertown, why did you have to provoke young Master Wang? Hu Fei looked at the quartet and shook his head gently. He looked at the figure who had just left with fear and respect. Young Master Han, go back to Modu now and never come back to Rivertown again. At the same time, your family needs to give a satisfactory answer to young Master Wang. Chunlong looked at Han Junming and said solemnly, you guys are lucky today. Young Master Wang gave us some face. Han Junming, Hua Ziming, and the rest were still in a daze as they stood there with ashen faces. At this time, all their phones rang. When they saw calls from the leaders of their families, their faces got as white as sheets. What kind of people were they messing with? How formidable is Senior Wang Xian? He's simply too awesome. Is this Wang Xian's strength? Hua Ziming and Han Junming were already so impressive, but now, their families are begging him to spare their sons' lives. My idol. Senior Wang Xian is my idol. I heard he was penniless when he was in year 1, yet he has climbed to such a domineering position within a year. Hundreds of people broke into a commotion when Han Junming and Hua Ziming got into the cars like some walking zombies after Wang Xian disappeared. All of them were discussing in shock. Today, Wang Xian had exhibited an appalling and domineering strength. If Wang Xian was just a well-known figure in the school in the past, he would become the legendary figure of the University of Rivertown from today onwards. Brother Xian, you'll be our leader from now on. Wang Dahai called out to Wang Xian with admiration in one of the rooms in first-grade restaurant. Brother Xian, you're so awesome and cool. I'd want to marry you if I was a girl. Get lost. Wang Xian pushed Wang Dahai away out of disgust. Xiao Yu and the rest are here. You guys just go over there and sit. Wang Dahai, Zhang Wan, and Zhang Feng were talking excitedly after Wang Xian went out. Shu Qing, Qing Yue. Wang Xian walked out and saw Xiao Yu and Elder Feng. His eyes swept across Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue as he called out with a smile. Apparently, he'd run away from some problems perfectly during a month of retreat. He felt the retreat was worth it. Looks like someone took good care of you. Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue sized him up with their eyes as they implied. Thanks to both of you for taking care of me during my retreat. You have worked hard. Let's have dinner. Wang Xian feigned ignorance as he spoke to Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue with sincerity. Heh, I'm glad you know it. Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue revealed smiles on their faces and headed to the private room. Wang Xian immediately followed behind them. He saw Xiao Yu giving him a thumbs up with admiration. Wang Xian patted his chest proudly, looking impressed with himself. When Wang Dehai and the guys saw Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue entering the private room at the same time, they were taken aback. During dinner, all of them dropped their jaws when Wang Xian was taking food for Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue eagerly. This situation, gosh, Brother Xian, I'm impressed. I'm totally impressed. You're simply awesome. When the four of them came to the washroom, Wang Dehai, Zhang Wan, and Zhang Feng immediately spoke to Wang Xian with great admiration. Heh, that's nothing. Wang Xian chuckled with some haughtiness. Let me check how impressive you are. Wang Dehai and the guys stretched their necks and checked out in between Wang Xian's legs. Gosh, formidable. Invincible. Chapter 234, Sacred Sect Flame Palace. Good morning, Senior Wang Xian. Good morning, Wang Xian. Good morning, handsome. When Wang Xian and Xiao Yu arrived at school the second morning, they were greeted by the students on the way enthusiastically. Morning. Wang Xian nodded and replied with a smile. Brother, your actions have truly shocked the entire school. I had never expected you to accomplish something so shocking. That's totally incredible. Seeing students from the school greeting Wang Xian one after another, Xiao Yu looked at her brother with admiration. I am still just your brother, Wang Xian joked. He smiled and added, All right, I'm going to my classroom now. Go ahead, Xiao Yu replied, and the two went their separate ways. Good morning, Wang Xian. Good morning, Brother Xian. When Wang Xian arrived at the classroom, everyone's attention was focused on him. A flicker of surprise flashed across their eyes, and they quickly greeted him with a smile. Morning. Wang Xian nodded and replied with a smile. Wang Xian, you have really hidden what you are capable of too well. The incident that happened yesterday in the afternoon has erupted in the school forum. Your actions are really too domineering. You are my idol. I had never expected you to have such abilities. Some of the classmates with whom Wang Xian was closer with joked as they tried to get on the good books of Wang Xian. Wang Xian smiled and chatted with them for a while. Soon, the school bell rang. However, during the short intervals between the lessons in the morning, an announcement was made through the school's broadcasting system. Year 2 student, Wang Xian, has donated $50 million to help students in need. The school will be setting up a department to help needy students financially. When the announcement was made, the school erupted with raucous discussions. Wang Xian. It's Wang Xian again. Together with the details of the incident the day before that were being spread at a crazy speed, Wang Xian was now known by everyone in the University of Rivertown. Thank you, Wang Xian, for the donation to the school. Thank you, Wang Xian, for helping out students in need. The counselor approached me today and informed me that Wang Xian had donated a sum to the school to set up a fund that helps needy students. The school has now exempted my tuition fees for a year. I am deeply grateful to Wang Xian. Positive energy. Wang Xian donated $50 million, and this could help a lot of people. Thank you, Wang Xian. Wang Xian is really noble to donate $50 million to help the needy students. Thank you, Wang Xian. The school also posted the announcement on its official school website. At the same time, they publicized the assistance plan. In the comments section, countless students were discussing the donation. Most of them were thanking Wang Xian for his donation. In the end, the 4 words of thank you, Wang Xian, were upvoted the most, and soon reached over 10,000. After seeing the messages on the school forum and hearing the broadcast in school, Wang Xian smiled and left for the Divine Dragon Medical Hall in a joyous mood. There were only 2 classes in the morning. After his classes, it was only 10 in the morning. When he reached the doorstep of the medical hall, Sun Lingxiu, who was wearing white, was already standing there. She stood there quietly and wore a gentle smile on her face. This attracted the attention of many passers-by. Xiao Xian. When Sun Lingxiu saw Wang Xian walking towards her, she walked forward and welcomed him with a beautiful smile. "Have you been waiting?" asked Wang Xian as he opened the doors to the Divine Dragon Medical Hall. "Nope, I've just arrived," answered Sun Lingxiu. When Sun Lingxiu entered the medical hall, she looked around attentively. "Xiao Xian, you might not know about this, but when I sent patients here for treatment in the past, I imagined becoming a miracle doctor as incredible as you. I would think about how great it would be if I could cure them of their illnesses. Although I'm not as great as you are at this moment, I'm at least able to treat patients here." She spoke happily, as this was something she had been hoping for ages. "I'll leave this medical hall to you from now on. I won't meddle with the business anymore," Wang Xian commented. "Rest assured, now that you have left this to me, you will be my boss from now onwards. I'll be earning money for you." Sun Lingxiu smiled as she went to boil some water. I've brought you here today to take a look first. You can start seeing patients starting tomorrow. I might just stay around here when I have nothing to do." Wang Xian nodded his head and said, "All right, Xiao Xian. However, can I change the rules of the Divine Dragon Medical Hall?" Sun Lingxiu asked. Read more chapter on novel full. Sun Lingxiu made Wang Xian a cup of tea with the boiled water and brought it to him. "The rules? Just change them as you wish. I won't be getting involved with the business here in the future after all. Oh yes, it would be best if we could collect spiritual stones from treatments to ancient martial artists." Wang Xian nodded and replied in a nonchalant tone. "Yes, Boss Xiao Xian. I'll just follow your instructions," answered Sun Lingxiu with a radiant smile as she lifted the cup of tea and placed it in front of Wang Xian with both hands. Wang Xian was not used to her behaving this way. This reminded him of the nurse and made cosplay. This is the place. Divine Dragon Medical Hall that is helmed by the 8th-ranked Miracle Doctor on the Miracle Doctor's chart. When Wang Xian and Sun Lingxiu were chatting, an old man and a young man arrived by the doorstep and commented after taking a look at the signboard. "Master, will he agree to join our Flame Palace?" the young man asked curiously, looking into the medical hall. "Rest assured, he will agree," the old man said with confidence. "Our Flame Palace is a newly crowned sacred sect, and we are at the stage where we are recruiting various experts. This is also the best time for the experts to join us. Miracle Dr. Wang is a factionless doctor. Although he is ranked 8th on the Miracle Doctor's chart, he is still a factionless doctor after all. He now has a chance to join a sacred sect and become our personal miracle doctor within the sect. Tell me, will he reject and let this opportunity slip? He will definitely agree to join. This is a chance encounter for him and the best opportunity available. He wouldn't get the same treatment and status that Flame Palace is offering if he chooses to join another sacred sect," said the old man confidently as he walked in with his head lifted up high. The young man nodded in agreement and followed behind. "Hey there, you guys are?" Sun Lingxiu was tidying up things in the medical hall when the old and young man entered. She looked at them and asked them this, feeling a little baffled about their purpose. "Wow, she's so beautiful," the young man exclaimed when he saw Sun Xiuling. The old man smiled and looked at his disciple before turning his attention to Wang Xian, who was resting on the reclining chair, and asking, "You must be Miracle Dr. Wang?" "Huh." Wang Xian lifted his head and saw the old and young man. "Yes, I am. Do you have something for me?" Miracle Dr. Wang is indeed as young as rumored. "I am an elder of the sacred sect, Flame Palace. I would like to invite Miracle Dr. Wang to join our sacred sect as our personal miracle doctor," said the old man heartily. "Sacred sect? Flame Palace?" Wang Xian was baffled. Is there a Flame Palace among sacred sects? The old man was shocked to hear Wang Xian's reply, and displeasure flashed in his eyes. Although Flame Palace had just become a sacred sect, it was already known throughout the world. Flame Palace has just become a sacred sect. We sincerely hope Miracle Dr. Wang can join us. The old man repeated his invitation. "I'm sorry. I have no intention to join any forces. Chapter 235, A Slave. I'm sorry. I have no intention to join any forces. When Wang Xian declared his stand indifferently on his chair, the old and young men froze immediately. The old man was slightly embarrassed when he saw Wang Xian sipping his tea in a relaxed and casual manner. Wang Xian was looking calm as he dismissed them as someone unimportant. Wang Xian did not take sacred sects seriously at all. Miracle Dr. Wang, the Flame Palace was promoted to a sacred sect. If you can join us, you'll be one of our members, and we'll protect you. The old man continued making his point to Wang Xian with a sunken expression. I'm sorry. Wang Xian sat up and put his tea aside. He looked at the old man and repeated himself again. I don't have the intention to join any forces, and I may not be practicing medicine anymore. It's your honor that we invited you to join the sacred sects. How dare a factionless doctor treat us rudely, said the young man coldly. The young man spotted Wang Xian's lukewarm expression, and the fact that Wang Xian disregarded them totally irritated the young man who had been received with flatteries recently. Wang Xian was stunned and surprised. He looked at the two haughty people and found them funny. So what if you were from the sacred sects? Are you forcing me to join against my will? Since Miracle Dr. Wang is unwilling to join us, how can we force you to do so? The Flame Palace will be recruiting heroes and disciples at Wudwan Mountain 2 days from now. I hope to see you there, the old man said coldly. With a palm move, a fiery red invitation card appeared in his hand. Shoo! He swung his palm gently, and the invitation card was inserted into the wall behind Wang Xian like a hidden weapon. It was not hard to imagine the strength he possessed for pushing a paper invitation into the wall. The old man got up and walked out. When he was approaching the door, he paused and said sternly, a factionless doctor who does not join any force is unsafe. The old man left immediately upon completing his sentence. The young man glowered at Wang Xian before he glanced at Sun Lingxiu with passion flashing in his eyes. Hee. Wang Xian put on a smiling face as the old man left. He reached out his hand, and the invitation card embedded in the wall flew to his hand. If that old man saw this just now, he would be appalled. Wang Xian flipped the fiery red invitation card and saw prominent characters printed on it. Pilgrimage, Sacred Sect, Flame Palace. Pilgrimage? Wang Xian chuckled. Sects that could become one of the sacred sects were domineering existences. They must have more than 10 inborn experts and enough influence. The fact that Flame Palace could be promoted to sacred sect meant it must have possessed a dominating presence. In the last decades, Flame Palace was also the only force that had been promoted. After they were promoted, the Flame Palace would need to expand their sect by recruiting underworld experts and disciples. Wudwan Mountain was about 100 kilometers away from Rivertown. It was not near, but not far either. What has Sacred Sect got to do with me? Wang Xian chucked the invitation aside and continued with his relaxing tea time. After Sun Lingxiu came to the Divine Dragon Medical Hall, he finally relaxed completely. He could swim in the sea, rest in the medical hall, go to school every day. The thought of it was just satisfying. Oh, Lingxiu, if you want to have lunch or dinner, you can go to first-grade restaurant next door. Wang Xian relaxed and lay down for more than 30 minutes before he stood up and spoke to Sun Lingxiu, who tidied up the medical hall. Yes, Xiao Xian. Sun Lingxiu nodded and sat beside him smilingly. I'll go back to school now. Go back and rest if there's nothing to do. Wang Xian looked at the time and headed to the school. Sun Lingxiu stood up and gazed at Wang Xian's back view with a faint smile. If this place is going to work like I want, I would be swamped. This might prevent Xiao Xian from making money too. Sun Lingxiu observed the entire Divine Dragon Medical Hall while she was deep in her thoughts. She was a kind-hearted person. When she witnessed life and death and many helpless families in the hospital, she always thought about how wonderful it would be if she were more skillful. Hence, she was impressed by Wang Xian and admired him a lot. She always wanted to help those people who suffered from illness or had no money to see expensive doctors when she improved her medical skills. She knew she was acting a little like a holy mother, but it had always been her dream. Now, she finally had a chance. However, she would need to overthrow the rules set by Wang Xian previously if she wanted to do that. It would bring more work to the medical hall in the future too. Let's get a helper. Sun Lingxiu thought of a person as she wore a radiant smile on her face. She closed the medical hall and walked upstairs slowly. Sun Lingxiu sat with her legs crossed and her eyes closed. The smile disappeared from her face as she looked like a noble and holy goddess. My blood. She parted her red lips gently as she exuded a faint white glow from her body. The white and bright energy eventually illuminated the entire room. Pure, elegant, holy. At the same time, in a castle in faraway Europe, the night was dark. A middle-aged man, in his red tuxedo and a tall hat, raised his wine glass as he roamed around in the ballroom full of flashes. Various middle-aged men and ladies in refined and luxurious dressing were exchanging conversations with the middle-aged man in a tuxedo. Prince. When the middle-aged man in a tuxedo went on the front stage, all the audience cheered for him. Hee, thank you for coming. The middle-aged man in a tuxedo exhibited an imposing demeanor as he raised his wine glass, overlooking the people like a ruler. All of them in the ballroom bowed to him in respect and held up their tall wine glasses. The thick, bloody color in the tall wine glasses was eerie-looking under the faint and gloomy lighting. Hee. The middle-aged man in a tuxedo lifted his chin, looking thrilled. At that moment, his excited face stiffened with shock, fear, and despair showing in his eyes. No. He let out a sharp shriek and disappeared on the spot. He then appeared on the top of the castle as he looked far in one direction. No, it can't be. This is impossible. He was trembling badly as desperation filled his eyes. All of a sudden, the middle-aged man in a tuxedo rolled his body on the rooftop of the castle in pain, looking to be in agony. Master, I surrender. Master, please. I beg you. I was wrong. I was wrong. I'll come to you now, Master. I'll be at your disposal from now on. He knelt on the ground and pledged his loyalty loudly. There was no one around him, but he was unusually respectful and fearful. How dare you feed on my blood? Humph. Sun Lingxiu opened her eyes with radiance flashed across them. She stood up slowly with a smile on her face. Miracle Dr. Bloodman is now a slave. Chapter 236, Disciples of the Flame Palace. Wang Xian didn't know what had happened in the Divine Dragon Medical Hall. Hurry up. Let's go get some crockpot rice. That stall has great business. We've got to hurry. At this moment, Xiaoyu was rushing Wang Xian, Lan Qingyue, and Guan Shuqing. All right. It has been a long time since we have eaten in the school canteen. Let's go. Wang Xian nodded his head with a faint smile before looking to Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing. Do you guys still have lessons in the afternoon? I have 2 more lessons in the afternoon. I have 2 lessons too. The 2 girls smiled and returned the question. Why? What's the matter? Nothing. Nothing. I'd just like to ask if the 2 of you will be staying in the dormitory tonight? Wang Xian smiled sheepishly. After practicing behind closed doors for a month, he had a hard time holding it in. He wanted to release some of it. I'm staying in the dormitory. I'm going home. The 2 girls stared at him at the same time and answered. Oh, in that case, come to my villa after school tomorrow. Let's have a good gathering and get something nice to eat, continued Wang Xian without a pause. The 2 girls were a little interested. After hesitating for a moment, they nodded their heads. Wang Xian was thrilled and started looking at Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue from top to bottom. Both of them were around 1.7 meters tall with perfect figures. The 2 of them together. Wang Xian was in ecstasy at the thought of it. His imagination ran wild, and he was wondering if he should get some new clothes for them. Schoolgirl costume? Stockings? Female teacher costume? Wow, there are so many people waiting for it. When they arrived at the canteen, Xiaoyu was clearly displeased when she saw the long queue in front of the stall that sold crockpot rice. Let's go. We have nothing going on anyway. Let's just queue for it. Wang Xian smiled and walked over as he spoke to Xiaoyu. All right. Wang Xian had visited this crockpot rice stall with Lan Qingyue once. It was indeed tasty and could be considered as one of the most patronized stalls in the University of Rivertown. Wang Xian, Xiaoyu and the group walked towards the end of the line. Wang Xian, are you eating in the school canteen too? Hello, Wang Xian. Hello, Senior Wang Xian. When Wang Xian and the group walked over, those who were queuing immediately recognized him and greeted him. Yeah, I'm here for lunch. Hello, everyone. Wang Xian smiled faintly. After what had happened yesterday and the news of him donating $50 million to the school had spread, he was now known by even more people than the number of people who knew Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing. Are you here for the crockpot rice? Come, you can queue in front of me. Oh yeah, Wang Xian. Come, you can go to the front. You don't have to queue. To the students ahead, are you all fine with letting Wang Xian queue in front of you guys? Not a problem at all. Oh right, Wang Xian. What would you like to have? I'll order for you. The students in the queue smiled and said to Wang Xian. Wang Xian saw the enthusiastic looks on the students. He simply smiled, waved his hand and replied, It's all right. I'm not in a rush. I can just wait behind. This won't do. You are someone we really respect in the entire school. We aren't in a hurry either. You have done so much for the school, and this is just a way the students are trying to express their gratitude. Do you guys agree with me? That's right, that's right. All the students replied loudly. How many servings of crockpot rice do you want? It will be all free if you visit here again. The boss of the stall heard what the students were saying. With a face full of smiles, he stretched his head out of the window. What a great boss! The students laughed and commented. Haha, it's just some rice. Hey, Wang Xian, how many servings would you like? I'll start preparing right away. The boss laughed heartily. In that case, thank you, boss. I'd like to have 4 servings. Wang Xian saw the enthusiastic looks of the students and replied with a faint smile. All right, it will be done right away. The boss nodded his head. Hee, Xiao Xian, you are really incredible now. You don't have to pay for your meal and can just use your face. Yeah, you are getting even more compliments than us currently. Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue smiled and said to Wang Xian. Perhaps it's because I'm too good-looking. Wang Xian said cheekily. Let's find a place to sit. I'll bring it over to you guys in a while. All right, brother. Thank you. Xiaoyu, Guan Shuqing, and Lan Qingyue walked to a bench a short distance away and sat down. Brother, can you get another serving? My master is coming too. Less than 2 minutes had passed when Xiaoyu shouted to Wang Xian. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head and ordered an additional serving. After 5 minutes, the boss placed 5 servings of crockpot rice on a tray and passed it to Wang Xian with a smile. Thank you. Wang Xian thanked the boss before carrying the tray towards Xiaoyu and the group. TSK, you are just a martial artist level 8 elder from the Thistles and Thorns sect, and yet you dare to speak to me in this manner? You must be courting death. When Wang Xian walked over, he instantly heard a clear voice sound. He was taken aback and lifted his head to look over. It was from a girl, a very beautiful girl. In terms of looks, she wasn't inferior to Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue. Around her, there were 3 to 4 other teenagers. Opposite the girl, Elder Fong and Xiaoyu were standing. At this moment, Xiaoyu's face had turned red from anger. She stared harshly at the girl as she remarked, Is your flame palace that impressive that it gives you the confidence to speak so loudly? Are you the saintess or sect leader of Flame Palace? Hey girl, you better watch your words. Flame Palace isn't something you can insult. A small Thistles and Thorns sect is nothing in the eyes of our Flame Palace. Just a few attendants from the Flame Palace would be enough to annihilate you guys. The young man standing beside the girl looked at Xiaoyu with contempt and issued a stern warning. As for the girl, she was as proud as a peacock and looked plainly at Xiaoyu and Elder Fong. The Flame Palace again? When Wang Xian heard that name, he looked to the boy who spoke with disdain. You better watch your words in front of me too. Those who dare to speak like this to my sister in Rivertown will suffer a terrible death. Wang Xian carried the tray and walked over directly. He placed it on the table by the side before looking at that boy. Huh. The boy was first stunned, but quickly turned his head over to meet the eyes of Wang Xian. However, he soon frowned when he saw Wang Xian. The aura on his body dissipated immediately. Wang Xian looked at that boy and demanded coldly, "Apologize now." That boy was shocked. The proud girl was also slightly stunned as she looked confusingly at Wang Xian. That proud girl restrained her arrogance and exclaimed, "Miracle Dr. Wang." Wang Xian did not pay attention to her and had his eyes fixed on that young man. "I'm a disciple of the Flame Palace." The young man gritted his teeth and said with a heavy tone. He had not expected the one who he had reprimanded to be the sister of Wang Xian. They had long heard about the incident of Hua Ziming and Han Juming in the morning. After investigating further, they found out that Wang Xian was, in fact, Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. He was now facing the 8th-ranked Miracle Doctor on the Miracle Doctor's chart, someone who could summon several inborn experts to annihilate a first-class force. Therefore, all he could do was to brace himself and throw out the title of Flame Palace. Chapter 237. Trouble. Wang Xian narrowed his eyes as coldness flashed in them while looking at the young guy. "Apologize now." When the girl beside him noticed the change in Wang Xian's expression, she quickly instructed the young man. That guy hesitated, looking embarrassed. He then gritted his teeth and lowered his head slightly. "Sorry, Miracle Dr. Wang. I didn't know she's your sister." Scram. Wang Xian spat out a word emotionlessly again. This time, he was staring at all of them. "Miracle Dr. Wang, I don't want to repeat myself again." That pretty and haughty girl was about to say something again, but Wang Xian glared at her coldly. Her expression changed drastically as she stared at Wang Xian with an awful look. Subsequently, she turned her back on him and left. Such arrogance. Xiao Yu glared at them and said with anger. The haughty girl darkened her expression while the rest of the people following her were looking sulky. "Wanwan, why are we afraid of him? He's just a factionless doctor." The boy who had apologized just now asked Mu Wanwan with a sullen look. "He's not someone whom we can provoke." Mu Wanwan's expression sank as she took a look at him. Flame Palace is trying to recruit the factionless doctor ranked 8th on the Miracle Doctor's chart. If he becomes the dedicated Miracle Doctor in Flame Palace, his position is equivalent to an elder's position. Wanwan is right. Even if he is not joining Flame Palace, we can't afford to offend him. The Flame Palace would not offend a Miracle Doctor like him without any reason, another guy beside him said with a gloomy look. They were only average disciples of Flame Palace. Even though they had Sacred Sect as their backing, they did not dare to provoke Wang Xian. "Are we swallowing this down just like this?" that boy asked, as he felt humiliated. Mu Wanwan was looking ahead without uttering a word. "What's going on?" Wang Xian looked at Xiao Yu and asked her when that group of people had left. "It was because of Thistles and Thorns Sect." Elder Fong frowned as she answered Wang Xian. "Thistles and Thorns Sect?" Wang Xian paused slightly as he asked doubtfully, "Do Thistles and Thorns Sect and Flame Palace have any conflicts?" Sort of." Elder Fong nodded. Sect leader Tang and one of the elders of Flame Palace shared some grievances. Hence, it involves the entire Thistles and Thorns Sect. "Let's talk while we eat." Wang Xian sat at the table as he said to Elder Fong. "It's a long story, and it involves the sect leader's wife." Elder Fong took a seat and said to Wang Xian. "Her? Sect leader Tang and that elder from Flame Palace had a fight with a girl? In the end, sect leader Tang won the Heart of Beauty? Such drama like this?" asked Wang Xian, shocked. "Something like that." Elder Fong nodded her head bitterly. "I'm not sure about the details, but sect leader Tang's foe made a breakthrough to Inborn Realm and was promoted to the Elder of Flame Palace. Besides, the Flame Palace was just promoted to become a sacred sect not long ago. This time round, Flame Palace is recruiting experts and disciples at the Wuduan Mountain. Given the influence of sacred sects, formidable families, sects around the provinces will be there on a pilgrimage. Many people knew about the old scores between Sect leader Tang and that elder from Flame Palace. The Thistles and Thorns sect might be in danger, as we're afraid they may make things difficult for us. Elder Fong said with a helpless look on her face. A second-class force against a sacred sect was as good as an ant fighting an elephant. Thistles and Thorns sect could not resist them. What's so great about sacred sect? Give me a few more months, and I will also become an inborn expert. Xiao Yu pounded her bowl with her chopsticks out of anger. The Flame Palace invited me to join them, but I turned them down today. Wang Xian stroked Xiao Yu's head as he laughed. Her brother, did they? Xiao Yu was slightly stunned as she asked to confirm again. Yes, they wanted me to become their dedicated miracle doctor. Wang Xian laughed as he spoke. Extremely haughty old and young men. You did the right thing by rejecting them. Xiao Yu pouted her lips and nodded. Elder Fong shook her head. Given Miracle Dr. Wang's strength, you could be at least an elder in Flame Palace after you join them. Master, will something happen to Thistles and Thorns sect this time? Asked Xiao Yu with concern. According to sect leaders' speculations, we will get humiliation at most. Their old scores were not as serious as fighting it out with their lives. It's just that it would be difficult for Thistles and Thorns sect to develop in the future. Elder Fong slightly knit her eyebrows as she looked at Xiao Yu. Thistles and Thorns sect will have to depend on you. Don't worry, Master. I will become a formidable expert so that no one can bully Thistles and Thorns sect. Xiao Yu said with motivation. Wang Xian chuckled as he found it interesting to see his own younger sister growing up. He was not sure if this was considered to be a heroine cultivation story for his sister. After lunch, Wang Xian accompanied Guan Shuqing and Lan Qingyue for a stroll in the canteen. Xiao Yu went back to her cultivation, feeling spurred on by Elder Fong. She was already a level 8 martial artist, the same level as Elder Fong. However, she was still far from Elder Fong in terms of combat experience. Even so, Elder Fong was astonished by Xiao Yu's growth too. After school, Wang Xian took the comfortable caravan back to the villa. Sun Lingxiu greeted him with a smiling face while making tea. She even cooked for him. Upon seeing such a pure and beautiful goddess serving him, Wang Xian was not used to it, but at the same time, he felt extremely satisfied. Sun Lingxiu continued staying in the room not far away from him and did not mention leaving. Wang Xian woke up early the next morning. He came to the yard and noticed Xiao Yu and Elder Fong's startled looks as they gazed ahead. Master, I was wrong. I was ignorant the other time. It was all my fault. I will be serving you by your side from now on. Please give me a chance. A middle-aged man, who wore a vibrant red tuxedo, was kneeling at the entrance with an ashen look. He was kowtowing to Sun Lingxiu without stopping. His broken Chinese sounded quirky. What's your name? Sun Lingxiu looked at Miracle Dr. Bloodman and asked without any emotions. Master, I'm the maid. No, I'm the slave, named Scarlet Vince Vladimir. Miracle Dr. Bloodman answered respectfully. His broken Mandarin and the term maid were very funny. Okay, I shall call you Xiao Hong from now on. Sun Lingxiu put on a smile as she spoke to Miracle Dr. Bloodman. Yes, you can call me anything you want, Master. Xiao Hong sounds nice. Miracle Dr. Bloodman quickly agreed. Okay, get up now and follow me from now on, Sun Lingxiu said with a smile. Yes, Xiao Hong vows to follow Master for anything you want me to do. My loyalty to the Master is as much as the sea. Miracle Dr. Bloodman, no, Xiao Hong, told Sun Lingxiu with determination. Gosh, what a talent. Chapter 238, Pilgrimage, 1. A very interesting person arrived at the villa. He was known as Miracle Dr. Bloodman in the past and Xiao Hong currently. When Wang Xian saw Miracle Dr. Bloodman, he immediately realized why he would be under the control of Sun Lingxiu. The reason lay in the bloodline. Miracle Dr. Bloodman had sucked and consumed the blood of Sun Lingxiu previously. Initially, Sun Lingxiu was supposed to die because of this. However, Wang Xian managed to save her and imparted the cultivation arts of the Light Divine Dragon transformation to her. Together with a level 12 flower sac and her incredibly strong constitution, her cultivation level reached level 6 of the Divine Dragon transformation, and her strength wouldn't be inferior to an inborn expert. As for Miracle Dr. Bloodman, his strength had improved by leaps and bounds after consuming Sun Lingxiu's unique blood. However, there was a hidden issue with it. The blood belonged to Sun Lingxiu after all. Using the method Wang Xian developed to control the Dragonians, she had gained control of Miracle Dr. Bloodman directly. Just like the Dragonians, Miracle Dr. Bloodman would have developed an innate submission and obedience to Sun Lingxiu. Sun Lingxiu could also give Miracle Dr. Bloodman an experience worse than death through her unique technique. Young Master, Xiaohong is really strong. My senses are telling me that he isn't any weaker than me. Mo Qinglong found it hilarious to see Miracle Dr. Bloodman, or Xiaohong, standing there deferentially. He's indeed strong, but he has gone for wool and come home shorn. He definitely had not expected himself to end up like this. Wang Xian said with a face of smiles. Hello, everyone. My master has prepared breakfast. Please come and have a try. Sun Lingxiu brought out the breakfast she had prepared. Miracle Dr. Bloodman immediately went over to help and brought out the breakfast like a gentleman. Miracle Dr. Bloodman was from a top-tier noble family in Europe. Every past generation in his family was part of the nobles. Therefore, he exhibited noble airs in every action he did. This was definitely not something waitresses in Western food restaurants could match. The only negative about him would be his broken Mandarin. It's time for breakfast. Sun Lingxiu sat to the side of Wang Xian happily and remarked, Try some? Yeah. Wang Xian nodded his head and commented, So tasty. Great. Oh right, Xiao Xian. I might not be opening the medical hall today. Xiaohong has a lot of books on medical techniques. I'd like to take the day off to take a look at them, said Sun Lingxiu. Sure, you don't have to be in a rush. Wang Xian nodded his head. Yeah. With Xiaohong helping out at the medical hall, it will get a lot easier in the future. Sun Lingxiu smiled and nodded her head. Miracle Dr. Bloodman saw how his master looked at Wang Xian. He immediately thought to himself that this would also be someone he had to treat with respect in the future. After a day of classes, Wang Xian brought Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing back to the villa excitedly. However, when he arrived at the villa, he saw a familiar figure sitting on the sofa. Sect Leader Tang, why are you here? Wang Xian signaled to Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing before walking to where Sect Leader Tang was. Miracle Dr. Wang. When Sect Leader Tang saw him, he immediately stood up and greeted him. Miracle Dr. Wang, sorry for intruding. There's something I have to tell Miracle Dr. Wang and Xiao Yu. Have a seat, Sect Leader Tang. You can be frank about it. Wang Xian smiled and walked over. It's regarding the pilgrimage. Sect Leader Tang sat down and spoke with a heavy expression. Pilgrimage? Wang Xian was taken aback and recalled the Flame Palace. This is an invitation card from them. Sect Leader Tang nodded his head and placed 2 invitation cards beside Wang Xian before opening them. Its contents were the same as the invitation card he had received from an old man. Pilgrimage, Sacred Sect, Flame Palace. 5 very domineering words. And below the 7 words, there was a line of words. Sincerely inviting Sect Leader Tang of Thistles and Thorns Sect. And on the other invitation card, it read Sincerely inviting Saintess of Thistles and Thorns Sect. Saintess of Thistles and Thorns Sect. Wang Xian squinted his eyes to catch a better look. Someone from Thistles and Thorns Sect might have leaked out the news. Now, the Flame Palace knows about the existence of a Saintess in Thistles and Thorns Sect. With a heavy expression, he continued, Therefore, the Flame Palace has sent out 2 invitation cards. Within the underworld, once a sect established the position of Saintess or Saint, it would mean that they had extremely high regards for that disciple. To a large extent, The saint or saintess represented the future successors of the position of sect leader, and they had a high chance of reaching the inborn realm. The elder from Flame Palace heard about this and was clearly interested to find out more about the saintess of the Thistles and Thorns sect. As to what he really had in mind, no one else would know. Wang Xian frowned slightly. The Flame Palace had sent 2 separate invitation cards. In that case, Xiao Yu as the saintess had to go. Otherwise, it would be signaling that she looked down on the Flame Palace. This might result in grave consequences in the future. Sect leader Tang didn't dare to reject. Pilgrimage? Wang Xian was feeling a little contemptuous. I'll accompany Xiao Yu tomorrow. Huh. Sect leader Tang was slightly shocked. He immediately stood up and said respectfully, I'll be troubling Miracle Dr. Wang then. This is all because of me after all. It's all right, Sect leader Tang. You don't have to worry about it. Wang Xian smiled and shook his head. In that case, I shall not disturb Miracle Dr. Wang further. I'll get going. Our Thistles and Thorns sect still has to make some preparations, said Sect leader Tang. All right. Wang Xian nodded his head. Seeing off Sect leader Tang, he glanced at the invitation card on the table. Pilgrimage? Interesting. Pilgrimage to the Flame Palace would suggest Flame Palace wanted others to revere them. Soon after, Xiao Yu and Elder Fong returned to the villa. Clearly, Xiao Yu and Elder Fong had learned about the matter. When Xiao Yu got back, she immediately went to practice and swore to become an inborn expert as quickly as possible. At night, the thrilling night Wang Xian had envisioned did not come into fruition. Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing stayed in a separate room. Moreover, they locked their door when they went to bed. This made him feel helpless. Young master, I have a piece of good news. On the second day, when Wang Xian walked to the living room, Mo Qinglong walked over and reported to him joyously. What's the good news? Wang Xian stretched his body a little and asked. Mo Yuan has made the advancement to the inborn realm. Mo Qinglong answered with a smile. Oh, that was pretty fast. Wang Xian revealed a satisfied expression. Mo Yuan was Mo Qinglong's disciple and had a foundation in cultivation. It wasn't too huge of a surprise that his cultivation level had now reached the inborn realm. All right. Wang Xian thought about it and continued. Call Mo Yuan along too. The Flame Palace has organized a pilgrimage. Let's go over and take a look. For the pilgrimage to the Flame Palace, I heard that all the second-class and above forces in the 4 to 5 neighboring provinces have to attend. The main objective of the Flame Palace is to recruit experts and take in outstanding disciples. Mo Qinglong knew more about the pilgrimage than Wang Xian and added, I'll get Mo Yuan over right away. Let him hurry over. We will be rushing there after breakfast, said Wang Xian. At this moment, Miracle Dr. Bloodman, who had noble blood, carried the breakfast to the dining table. Hello, everyone. It's time for breakfast. Lingxiu, why don't you guys follow us to Wuduan Mountain today? Wang Xian said to Sun Lingxiu, taking a glance at Miracle Dr. Bloodman. All right, Xiao Xian, I'll listen to whatever you say. Sun Lingxiu answered obediently. Lan Qingyue and Guan Shuqing, who happened to be coming down the stairs, heard her. Chapter 239, Pilgrimage 2. Shuqing, watch over him. I'm going back to the office to settle some stuff. Before Lan Qingyue was gone, she cast a death stare at Wang Xian and urged Guan Shuqing. Don't worry, I'll watch over him. Guan Shuqing nodded. Humph. Wang Xian gave a bitter smile when Guan Shuqing threw him a warning look after Lan Qingyue left. Miracle Dr. Wang, let's go. It will take more than 2 hours to reach Wuduan Mountain from here. Elder Fong looked at Wang Xian and spoke casually, thinking he was a sex poodle to herself. Let's take the caravan. Just right. All of us can fit into it. Wang Xian told them as he swept a glance at the group and headed to the car. Xiao Yu, Elder Fong, Guan Shuqing, Sun Lingxiu, Miracle Dr. Bloodman Xiao Hong, Mo Yuan, Mo Qinglong, and Wang Xian made 8 people in total. Miracle Dr. Bloodman was in his usual vibrant red tuxedo. His face went pale as he observed the group with surprise. Needless to say, his master was an inborn expert. In addition, that miracle Dr. Wang and his 2 other servants were inborn experts. Counting him in the group would make 5 inborn experts in a group of 8. Such a lineup surprised Xiaohong. If we had a few more experts, we could form a royal family, Xiaohong thought to himself. Young master, this is the information about Flame Palace researched by Mo Yuan. Mo Qinglong handed a document to Wang Xian in the car. Oh. Wang Xian took it with surprise. Xiao Yu and Elder Fong looked over with curiosity too. They have 13 inborn experts, more than 30 half-step to inborn experts, around 80 level 9 martial artists, and their Saint and Saintess were on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart. They were ranked 17 and 14 respectively. Xiao Yu and Elder Fong read aloud the information on the document as they stared with their eyes agape. They are strong. They actually have 13 inborn experts. Xiao Yu could not help but exclaim, is this how strong a sacred sect is? According to the information Thistles and Thorns Sect got, Flame Palace only has 11 inborn experts, and they don't have so many half-step to inborn experts and level 9 martial artists. Elder Fong knit her eyebrows slightly. This information is accurate, said Mo Qinglong to Elder Fong. Looks like Flame Palace has concealed their actual strength. They are among the sacred sects indeed. Elder Fong exclaimed. As compared to such a domineering Flame Palace, Thistles and Thorns Sect was nothing. Master, will the Flame Palace bully Thistles and Thorns Sect? Xiao Yu looked at her master with concern. Don't worry. Elder Fong squeezed a smile on her face, but she was, in fact, worried sick. Relax. I'm here, aren't I? With me around, what can the Flame Palace do? Wang Xian smiled and stroked Xiao Yu's head. Yes, I still have a formidable brother. Xiao Yu lifted her chin and showed a smile on her face. The car was driving fast on the road. Wuduan Mountain was situated in the north city of Dongqing Province. Wuduan Mountain was made up of 5 100-meter peaks, surrounding a special scenic area in the center. This scenic area only opened in the spring, and tourists were prohibited from entering during other seasons. Wuduan Mountain had 5 entrances. Wang Xian and the rest began to observe the environment after the car was parked at the entrance. The floor around the 100 meters towering peaks was covered by marble. All kinds of luxury cars were parked in the car park, while the imposing experts strolled inside. Many martial artists were standing around the entrance. They were dressed in uniforms with huge flames embroidered in front of their chests. Even the entrance guards are level 7 martial artists. They are simply domineering. No wonder Flame Palace can be the only force that rose to become a sacred sect within decades. We can tell how strong Flame Palace is just by a glimpse of it. Sacred sects. When can we be promoted to the sacred sects? Sigh, I guess we're hopeless. The few influential families and sects from the surrounding provinces exclaimed softly when they saw the guards at the entrance. They walked in with awe, just like what the invitation of Flame Palace had written. Pilgrimage. Flame Palace did not dispatch all their people here for this recruitment. It's not even a third of their total strength. I heard there will be 4 inborn experts from Flame Palace here. With them around, they can suppress everyone on the spot. As Wang Xian and the group headed inside, the discussions were heard from the surroundings again. Your invitation card, please. The guards of Flame Palace asked them coldly when they came to an intersection point. Mo Qinglong placed 2 invitation cards on the table. The guards took a glance and gestured for them to enter. Wow, what a huge square. When they walked into Wuduan Mountain, a vast square unfolded before their eyes. Guan Shuqing was shocked as she looked inside. A large cauldron, 5 meters tall, was situated in the center. An immense flame was burning in it, making it look magnificent. Dozens of level 8 martial artists from Flame Palace were surrounding the cauldron. The entire square was about 2 to 3 kilometers in radius. A field that was similar to the ancient martial arts field was located in the center. Read more chapter on novel full. At this time, more than 1,000 people were gathered here. Even though thousands of people sounded like a huge number, it looked like a few in the spacious square. The entire square looked like an ancient underworld with the surrounding pine trees. Master, sect leader, and the rest are over there. Just then, Xiaoyu pointed to the entrance on the right after she scanned the surrounding environment. Let's go over there, said Elder Fong as she looked at Wang Xian before she walked to Thistles and Thorns Sect. Sect leader. Xiaoyu and Elder Fong walked over and greeted Sect leader Tang. Saintess. Thistles and Thorns Sect had sent more than 20 people, including several elders. The elders, along with the attendants, greeted Xiaoyu. Since the Flame Palace already knew Xiaoyu was their saintess, there was no need for them to hide anymore. Miracle Dr. Wang, thank you for being here. Sect leader Tang bowed to Wang Xian, expressing his gratitude. Wang Xian waved a dismissive hand. When will Flame Palace start their pilgrimage? Noon. They will start the recruitment of experts and disciples at noon. Sect leader Tang answered. We're still early then. Wang Xian looked at the time and sat on a stone bench with nothing to do. Guan Shuqing sat with him on the stone bench beside him. Sun Lingxiu found a seat nearby with a smiling face, while the miracle Dr. Bloodman stood beside her respectfully. More and more people gathered in the square. Most of the martial artists carried their swords and sabers. The atmosphere began to liven up. The crowd was distinguished by their uniforms. From their attire, it was easy to tell which sect or family they came from. I saw 5 first-class forces. All of them were led by inborn experts. That's formidable. Quite a number of second-class forces are here too. No one dared to defy a word from Sacred Sect. Chapter 240, Pilgrimage, 3. Voices from a few attendants and elders of Thistles and Thorns Sect sounded from the side. Wang Xian looked briefly across the crowd before continuing his casual chat with Guan Shuqing. The one heading towards us is from the Fengyang family, and the one at the forefront is Fengyang Lai, an inborn realm expert. Fengyang family is one of the strongest families in Feng City. They have a lot of descendants. The entire family has over 2,000 members, and they are a huge family with more than 100 years of history. That young man right there is Fengyang Kai. He used to be the ranked 20th on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart. Greetings, family head of Fengyang family. Yeah, hee. Several people beside the Thistles and Thorns sect were whispering among themselves. When sect leader Tang saw Fengyang family walking in his direction, he immediately stood up and greeted them. Fengyang Lai, who was walking at the front, looked coldly at sect leader Tang before giving a forced smile. Sect leader Tang was a little embarrassed. However, he didn't say a word and sat to the side. Thistles and Thorns Sect is really unlucky to offend an elder from the Flame Palace. The future development of Thistles and Thorns Sect will become tough. It's their fault, offending those they shouldn't have. They only have themselves to blame. 2 young men walking at the front of the Fengyang family crowd were chatting. They were quite loud and weren't concerned about the Thistles and Thorns Sect who was just beside them. This made the crowd from Thistles and Thorns Sect embarrassed. Wow. It's that beautiful girl. At this moment, the young man who was talking opened up the folded the fan in his hand, while staring intensely at the position beside Wang Xian. Looking at the clouds reminds me of her clothes. Looking at the flowers reminds me of her looks. The spring breeze blows and the flowers bloom. If I haven't seen her at the foot of the mountain for immortals, I'll see her under the moonlight by the abode of immortals. The young man recited a poem as he fanned himself. He was staring at Sun Lingxiu fervently. When Fengyang Lai saw his son, he smiled and said, "Let's just sit here while waiting. Father, your son is going to get you a daughter-in-law." The young man with a folded fan smiled and said to his father. Fengyang Lai returned a faint smile before looking to Sun Lingxiu. She's indeed beautiful and befitting of our Fengyang family. Haha, the young man laughed loudly. Brother Kai, that girl is really stunning. I just wonder if she has a boyfriend. The young man beside him was stunned by Sun Lingxiu's beauty and commented enviously. She sits with her legs closed together and the distance between her eyebrows is short. She's definitely still a virgin. Fengyang Kai moved his folded fan as he continued. Rare? Rare. Holy and noble. Let me go over and get to know her. As he finished his words, he walked directly to Sun Lingxiu. Hi, I'm Fengyang Kai from the Fengyang family. I am greatly attracted by your looks. May I know the name of this beautiful lady? Fengyang Kai fanned himself lightly and gave off the vibe of a scholar from Jiangnan. Sun Lingxiu sat beside Wang Xian with a medical book from Miracle Dr. Bloodman in her hands. She simply sat there quietly while reading. As she flipped through the book, the stunning disposition she displayed was similar to that of a deity who had descended to the mortal realm. Sun Lingxiu ignored Fengyang Kai's question completely. As an inborn expert, she could hear his conversation with others previously and had chosen to completely ignore him. Sun Lingxiu is really attractive. There's actually someone trying to pick her up. Guan Shuqing, who was beside Wang Xian, was a little envious while speaking to Wang Xian. You are equally attractive. Wang Xian smiled and pinched her cheeks. He then turned around and looked towards Sun Lingxiu. When the crowd from Thistles and Thorns Sect saw Fengyang Kai greeting the beautiful girl who came with Wang Xian, they looked over inquisitively. Huh. Seeing Sun Lingxiu completely ignoring him, Fengyang Kai was slightly shocked. Brother Kai, what's the matter? Why don't you let me, your brother, give it a try? The other young man by the side spoke with a smile when he saw Sun Lingxiu completely ignoring his brother. Fengyang Kai looked a little embarrassed. He leaned towards Sun Lingxiu again and asked, Hey girl, it's rude to be ignoring others, right? My master is already ignoring you. Don't be so thick-skinned and keep coming over. Miracle Dr. Bloodman, Xiao Hong, who was standing beside Sun Lingxiu, lifted his head slightly and spoke with contempt. His broken Mandarin sounded a little quirky. Huh. Upon hearing Miracle Dr. Bloodman, Fengyang Kai was shocked. He squinted his eyes and stared at him. An underling has no right to speak here. Hey girl, I, Fengyang Kai, am talking to you. Are you not going to show me any respect? His face sank as he stared at Sun Lingxiu, who was still going through the book. In his eyes, fury was raging. However, Sun Lingxiu still didn't say a word. Miracle Dr. Bloodman, Xiao Hong, walked forward and stared at him with disdain. He then remarked, Get lost. Miracle Dr. Bloodman's quirky Mandarin coupled with the disdain look on him was hilarious. Shut up and get lost. Pa. When Fengyang Kai heard Miracle Dr. Bloodman, his already embarrassed look sank further. He waved the folded fan in his hands, and a crisp noise sounded instantly. The fan was in fact made of metal and wasn't any ordinary fan. Hey girl, you have gone a little overboard. He looked coldly towards Sun Lingxiu once again. Huh. Some members from the Fengyang family also frowned and looked over, feeling confused about what was happening. Fuck your mother. You asking me to shut up? Asking me to get lost? Hey brat, I'm telling you to scram now. Can you hear me? Brat. When Miracle Dr. Bloodman heard Fengyang Kai, he immediately chided him. What the? This? Wang Xian, Xiao Yu and the crowd who was watching silently from the side couldn't help but break into laughter. The crowd of Thistles and Thorns Sect was also shocked as they looked at Miracle Dr. Bloodman. A well-dressed and good-looking foreigner was hurling vulgarities in Mandarin. His voice and expression at that moment were truly hilarious. Even Sun Lingxiu, who was reading a book, silently couldn't help but break into laughter. You. In that instant, Fengyang Kai's expression turned violent and savage as he stared at Miracle Dr. Bloodman. When Fengyang Lai heard Miracle Dr. Bloodman, killing intent flashed in his eyes. Fuck your mother? Wouldn't that be fuck his wife? You must be tired of living. Fengyang Kai's eyes turned cold as he swung his folded fan towards the chest of the Miracle Dr. Bloodman. Brat, I can kill you with a swing of my hand. Miracle Dr. Bloodman, Xiao Hong, was extremely pissed. He waved his hand casually and slapped Fengyang Kai in the face before anyone reacted to it. What? Fengyang Kai was horrified, following which, a strong force sent him falling to the ground. Bam! His body smashed onto the floor and blood was oozing out from his mouth. Filthy blood. You've dirted my hand. Miracle Dr. Bloodman saw a drop of blood land on his fingers. He took out a piece of tissue impatiently and wiped it off with contempt. You are such an ugly guy, and yet you dare to flirt with my master. Trash. Trash. Miracle Dr. Bloodman stepped on Feng Yang Kai's face with his feet and remarked with disdain, "You must be tired of living." Chapter 241. Pilgrimage 4. Boom. Feng Yang Lai and Feng Yang family stood up together. Their icy cold faces were crawling with murderous intent as they stared at Miracle Dr. Bloodman. Everyone from Thistles and Thorns Sect was dumbfounded at the scene. Darn, this foreigner was definitely a supreme talent. He's at least a half-step to inborn expert. When Sect leader Tang looked at Miracle Dr. Bloodman, he was stunned. However, he frowned immediately when he saw the people from Feng Yang family. "How dare you injure my son? You must be tired of living." Feng Yang Lai jerked his body and exuded a strong and intense aura from it. He glared at Miracle Dr. Bloodman with a pair of emotionless eyes before he stretched out his hand, taking a sword from a middle-aged man next to him. Inborn. The surrounding martial artists within a radius of a few hundred meters away were drawn by the immense aura exploded by inborn expert immediately. Everyone looked over in shock. It's the Feng Yang family. That's Feng Yang Lai. Who's the one who offended them? Another first-class force? Otherwise, who dares to offend them? The crowd looked over with doubt. Even people from the Flame Palace in the middle turned their attention over here. Heh, old freak. Since you can't even teach your son well, I'll have to do it for you. Why? Miracle Dr. Bloodman's expression remained unchanged. He maintained his disdainful look when he looked at Feng Yang Lai. However, the scarlet tuxedo that he was wearing got darker as he released bloody aura from his body. This is inborn. Sensing the demeanor of Miracle Dr. Bloodman, Feng Yang Lai sharpened his eyes as he fixed them upon him. Hee. Miracle Dr. Bloodman widened his mouth. How dare you disturb my master? Count him lucky that I didn't kill him. Master. Feng Yang Lai heard that word again. Radiance flickered in his eyes as he peered at Sun Lingxiu, who was sitting there with a darkened expression. But, at this time, Miracle Dr. Bloodman made a move at a frightening and daunting speed. A red figure flashed immediately. Even if I'm tired of living, can you kill me, old freak? When the Miracle Dr. Bloodman reappeared, he was already a half-meter away from Feng Yang Lai's left-hand side. Scarlet radiance blinked in his eyes as he fixed his cold eyes on Feng Yang Lai. You! Feng Yang Lai was appalled as he gazed at Miracle Dr. Bloodman with his blood run cold. In fact, he did not even capture the trace of his opponent's movement. Realizing this, the hand that was holding the sword trembled slightly. The surrounding crowd from Feng Yang family also gazed frightfully at Miracle Dr. Bloodman. They swallowed their saliva and clung to their weapons tightly. So, sorry. It was my son's fault. Feng Yang Lai apologized with an embarrassed look. That's right. Hayak. Be good. I'll kill all of you if you continue to infuriate my master. Miracle Dr. Bloodman broke out in ghastly laughter before he flashed back to Sun Lingxiu. He straightened his clothes and stood by her side, just like a British steward. By ignoring them, he acted as though nothing had happened. No one thought that such a person could be a daunting inborn expert. And no one would have thought the pretty girl reading her book quietly was the master of this inborn expert. Take Kyer over for treatment. Feng Yang Lai spoke to the members beside him with a vile expression. Yes, Chief. Feng Yang family gazed at the foreigner in a scarlet coat with a stern look. Eventually, they turned their attention to the pretty girl who was reading a book. What background does she have to have an inborn expert as her slave? Everyone pondered the doubt to themselves. How daunting. The people from Thistles and Thorns Sect also peered at Miracle Dr. Bloodman with shocked looks. People around Miracle Dr. Wang are not any average people. Sect leader Tang was stunned, but he heaved a sigh of relief to himself. The sects and families far away shook their heads eventually as they wondered. Chief, who was that girl and that middle-aged man in a scarlet coat? How could they be so domineering? An old man squatted beside Feng Yongkai and proceeded with his treatment. His face was solemn as he swept a glance towards the other direction and asked in a low voice, I don't know. A master of inborn expert is definitely not an average person. Feng Yonglai clenched his fist tightly with a vile expression. He felt a slap on his face when he recalled what he said just now, a girl that was befitting of the Feng Yong family. Given what happened just now, he had to succumb to that mysterious existence despite the fact that he was an inborn expert. Regardless of the backings they had, he was unable to deal with that foreigner in a scarlet coat. Could they be from the Thistles and Thorns sect? A young man suddenly asked. How is that possible? Where on earth did Thistles and Thorns sect get such domineering experts? Besides, only that terrifying scarlet man made his move just now. Wang Xian peered casually at Feng Yong family as he revealed a smile on his face upon hearing their conversations. He did not make his move just now because Miracle Dr. Bloodman was around. Given Sun Lingxiu's ability, she did not require his help either. Without 3 or 4 inborn experts, no one could really take Sun Lingxiu and Miracle Dr. Bloodman down. An average first-class force was nothing to them. Those are disciples from Flame Palace. All of them are young talents. They have large numbers of talented people. No average first-class forces can be comparable to them. I must join Flame Palace and become one of their members today. At this time, a commotion broke out not far away. All the attention was turned to that side as everyone witnessed the young disciples from Flame Palace. They walked out, wearing uniforms with flames embroidered on them. There were about 30 to 40 disciples aged 30 and below. All of them were considered young talents. They made an impressive presence with haughty looks on their faces, giving off immense self-confidence on their own. The core disciples from various families and sects felt inferior when they saw them. The Flame Palace will be recruiting outstanding disciples today. Please get ready if you wish to join us. We'll have assessments later on, the disciples from Flame Palace said in a low voice as they swept their gazes around. Child, you must work hard to get into the Flame Palace later on. Dad, I'll become the disciple of the Flame Palace. Once you join the Flame Palace and become a disciple of sacred sects, you'll have a strong backing in the future. There would be no need to worry for the rest of your life. The surrounding crowd was thrilled with what the disciples of Flame Palace had said. All of them turned to their children and reminded them. They would be extremely lucky if they could join a sacred sect. Hey, disciples from Flame Palace are heading towards us. Just then, Guan Shuqing was looking ahead as she told Wang Xian. Wang Xian spun around and exhibited a smile as soon as he spotted the disciples walking towards them. Wang Xian had seen the leader before. It was the young man who came to the Divine Dragon Medical Hall with an old man the other day. The rest of them were Mu Wanwan and her clique, who they had seen in the school canteen. Chapter 242, Pilgrimage or Tearing Down the Place, 1. Brother Wanshui, who would have expected that miracle doctor to be so brazen to reject our Flame Palace's invitation to become our dedicated miracle doctor? How arrogant is he? In the field of the Wudwan Mountain, Mu Wanwan lifted her head slightly and gave off an arrogant vibe while speaking to the young man beside her. He's just a brazen factionless doctor. When I went with my master to invite him, he was so arrogant and didn't have any respect for us at all. The young man's eyes turned chilly. He looked ahead of him and smirked. He didn't give us face even when Elder Lu went to invite him personally. Brother Wanshui, why are we still trying to invite him? He's just a factionless doctor who we, the Flame Palace, could easily crush. Beside him, a young man remarked vengefully. That's not how it works. Although our Flame Palace has advanced to become a sacred sect, we are still too weak among the sacred sects. We need to recruit various experts, and Miracle Dr. Wang is rather capable, answered the young man plainly. However, he added with a chilling expression, however, if Miracle Dr. Wang chooses to remain arrogant, our Flame Palace wouldn't let him off easily. Our Flame Palace has yet to establish our prestige. This is the last opportunity we will be offering him. Brother Wanshui, hasn't the palace master invited the powerful Miracle Dr. Shenghua? Miracle Dr. Shenghua's strength could even rank in the top 5 in our country. Why do we still need to invite that Miracle Dr. Wang? The young man who spoke earlier frowned and asked. Miracle Dr. Shenghua couldn't remain in our country all the time. Moreover, it's a good thing for us to have another miracle doctor joining us. The other young man answered plainly. This will be the last invitation. If he doesn't accept it, our Flame Palace wouldn't be bothered either. The group of Flame Palace disciples discussed among themselves before walking towards where Wang Xian was. Oh, I had not expected people from the Thistles and Thorns sect to be here. Miracle Dr. Wang seems to have a good relationship with the Thistles and Thorns sect. When the young man saw the crowd from Thistles and Thorns sect beside Wang Xian, his eyes flickered. Nonetheless, he walked directly towards Wang Xian. Miracle Dr. Wang, my master, Elder Liu, would like to extend the invitation to you once again and invite you to join our Flame Palace. This will also be our last invitation, said the young man plainly after getting ahead of Wang Xian. It's still the same answer. Wang Xian looked at the young man, smiled, and shook his head. Since Miracle Dr. Wang isn't willing to give our Flame Palace face, we shall forget about this. I hope Miracle Doctor will conduct yourself well in the future. The young man revealed a cold smirk before leaving. He's just a small factionless doctor, and yet he rejected the invitation from the Flame Palace. How foolish is he? Mu Wanwan looked coldly at Wang Xian before following behind the young man and leaving. Dang! At this moment, the crisp sounds of a bell were heard throughout the entire Wudwan Mountain. Dang! Those ancient martial artist families and sects who were here stood up and headed towards the central location. Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, 4 figures landed on one of the mountain peaks before approaching the large cauldron on the central area. 3 old men and a middle-aged man stood on the 4 corners of the large cauldron respectively. Boom! At this moment, the flames in the large cauldron below them raged up and rose over 10 meters into the skies. The aura of the 4 men connected and a strong disposition filled the entire field of Wudwan Mountain. So strong. What stifling pressure. The surrounding ancient martial artist families and sects were shocked. All of them lowered their heads slightly as they walked towards the central location. Swish, swish, swish. At the 5 entrances of Wudwan Mountain, disciples of Flame Palace entered. Each entrance had approximately 200 disciples. All of them wore neat attire and gave off extraordinary vibes. The 4 Flame Palace elders who were standing on the large cauldron showed satisfactory smiles. Looking at the approaching ancient martial artist families and sects who had their heads lowered, they raised their heads proudly. This was what pilgrimage was supposed to be. This is deserving of a sacred sect. The strength of their inborn experts isn't something that could be matched by ordinary inborn experts. Isn't that Wuxia? Mo Qinglong squinted his eyes and took a glance at the 4 inborn experts on the large cauldron. When he looked ahead, he spotted a familiar figure. It's Wuxia. This kid chose to roam alone and has made a name for himself. Mo Yuan looked over and commented. Wang Xian saw Mo Wuxia but acted nonchalantly as he walked towards the central location. 3 days ago, our Flame Palace invited various heroes, families, and sects over. Today, everyone has come. I'd like to express my gratitude to everyone for your recognition of our Flame Palace. Seeing the crowd around them, an old man announced this with a smile and directed his voice to the ears of everyone. Our Flame Palace was established 230 years ago. Now that we have advanced to become a sacred sect, we would like to recruit all heroes and talented disciples to join us so we can grow stronger together. Here, I'd like to announce the entire first-class force, Fire Origin Sect, joining our Flame Palace and becoming disciples of Flame Palace. The old man looked ahead of him and revealed a smile. I, Yin Guangwen, shall lead all the disciples of Fire Origin Sect to join the Flame Palace. From today onwards, Fire Origin Sect shall no longer exist. From the center of the crowd, an old man walked forward and shouted. Rumble. First-class sect, Fire Origin Sect, has joined the Flame Palace. This is shocking. That's an entire first-class force. For them to all join the Flame Palace, this is truly shocking. Incredible, Flame Palace has managed to convince the Fire Origin sect. When the shocking news was announced, the surrounding martial artists were clearly astonished. Other than that, Rogue Cultivator and Inborn Expert of Combustion Palm, Chao Haokong, will also be joining our Flame Palace. The voice of the old man sounded once again. I'm Chao Haokong of the Flame Palace. An old man walked slowly ahead. Clasping his right fist in his left palm, he greeted the crowd ahead of him. Between his hands, flames were raging furiously. Chao Haokong of the Combustion Palm has joined the Flame Palace. Oh my God, 2 inborn experts have joined them. Who would have expected these experts to join the Flame Palace? The Flame Palace has gotten substantially stronger. Even if all the other forces here allied together, we wouldn't be a match for Flame Palace. The crowd looked towards Chao Haokong in shock once again. 23rd ranked Miracle Doctor on the Miracle Doctors chart, Miracle Doctor Tai Mingshou, will be joining the Flame Palace. The old man wasn't finished with his announcement as he continued with a smile. I'm Tai Mingshou of the Flame Palace. An old man walked forward and shouted. And for the final announcement, let us welcome Miracle Dr. Shanghua, whom our palace master has invited over personally. When the old man finished his words, an old man with a foreigner's looks walked to the side of Tai Mingshou. He had a faint glow emitting from his body which gradually shrouded an area that spanned 100 meters. The entire space turned to be similar to an immortal realm. Tai Mingshou greeted Shanghua deferentially. Top-tier Miracle Dr. Shanghua from Europe. Who could have expected Flame Palace to be able to invite Shanghua to the Flame Palace? Insane. This is insane. They are truly deserving of the name, Sacred Sect Flame Palace. Chapter 243, Pilgrimage or Tearing Down the Place, 2. The experts who were recruited by the Flame Palace stunned everyone. They stared dumbfoundedly at the 2 inborn experts and 2 miracle doctors who were sitting there. One of the miracle doctors is a top-notch European miracle doctor, Miracle Dr. Shanghua. I heard he possessed a strength of inborn realm. All the surrounding spectators gazed at the disciples of Flame Palace with more respect. This has spurred all the disciples of Flame Palace to look proud. They lifted their heads up slightly with pride. The Flame Palace will be recruiting another batch of elites today. Those who wish to join the Flame Palace, you may participate in the assessment later. For those who wish to join the Flame Palace of Sacred Sects, you must have outstanding abilities. For 20 years old and below, you must be at least a level 5 martial artist. For 30 years old and below, you must be a level 6 martial artist and level 7 for those who are between 30 to 40 years old. For 50 years old and below, you'll need to be a level 8 martial artist. For level 8 and above, you're eligible to join us. However, we can't promise you'll be recruited even if your level of cultivation meets all the requirements. We still need to test your combat ability. At that time, our disciples will be testing you. The old man continued with a smile. We'll start from those martial artists below 30. Once you have passed the test, you'll become a disciple of Sacred Sect. The glory is waiting for you. Elder, I want to join Flame Palace and become a disciple of Sacred Sect. As soon as the old man finished his sentence, a young guy took an eager step forward as he exclaimed loudly. No hurry. The old man drew a smile on his face when he saw the eager young man. He cast a glance at the disciples by the side. Softly, he shouted, Where are the disciples aged 30 and below? Present. About 70 disciples stood out in a row and answered at the top of their lungs. Every one of them was exhibiting a prodigious amount of self-confidence. At the very front stood a guy and a girl with blazing eyes and extraordinary demeanors. Our saint and saintess will be doing the assessment. Those who pass will be recruited by the Flame Palace. The old man made his speech slowly. The rest of the elders moved swiftly and sat beside the huge cauldron. The flame rose, exhibiting domineering outward-bearing force. Wan Fenghua, Saintess of Flame Palace. Emote Songhai, Saint of Flame Palace. The saint and saintess of Flame Palace took 2 steps forward as they overlooked the surroundings with haughty looks. Greetings to saint and saintess. The martial artists around the area immediately clamored. The status of saint and saintess of Flame Palace were just after the elders. Hence, the 2 of them were young talents from the outstanding young heroes chart. If you want to join us, show us what you've got. Don't assume that you are a talent. Our Flame Palace has no room for mediocrity. Show us everything you've got. Saintess Luan Fong Hua turned to the people around her and said, "Those young people who want to join the Flame Palace, step forward now." Wow! Once Saintess Luan Fong Hua finished her talk, hundreds of young people walked out with excitement on their faces, staring at the front. There were 2 kinds of forces in the underworld. One was the sacred sects, while the rest made up the other one. Joining sacred sects was as good as achieving great success in life. It was something of the utmost glory. Even those disciples from first-class forces also wanted to join sacred sects very much. And all the families and sects supported their offspring in joining the sacred sects and becoming an expert there. Level 5 martial artists, please line up in a row. Same goes for level 6, 7, and 8. Please line up in your respective levels. Saintess Luan Fonghua gazed at everyone and said nonchalantly. Level 6 martial artists who were 30 years old and below were known to be gifted people in any sects or families. Level 7 was considered to be a supreme talent. Level 8 martial artists could make it off to the outstanding young heroes chart. Hundreds of young people lined up in rows. There were only about 7 to 8 level 5 juveniles who were below 20 years old. Becoming a level 5 martial artist at such an age was considered to be something of extreme talent. Level 6 martial artists had the most number with more than 80 people. There were only 3 level 7 martial artists, and no level 8 martial artists were below the age of 30. Song Sheng from Flame Palace, 19 years old. I will be testing 2 level 5 martial artists. Zhao Wu from Flame Palace, 27 years old. I will be testing 2 level 6 martial artists. Just then, disciples from Flame Palace stepped out and spoke to those juveniles and young people who were here for the assessment. Wow! They are very confident to challenge 2 people of the same level as them at the same time. Impressive to challenge 2 people of the same level as them right away. The sacred sect really lives up to their name. The Flame Palace is exhibiting their strength. When the sects and families noticed each Flame Palace disciple was going to test 2 martial artists of their same level, they were overwhelmed by shock. The 4 Flame Palace elders on the stage wore faint smiles. They wanted to exhibit the power of the Flame Palace through this method. Me. After you. Me. The juveniles and young people around were not convinced. Bring it on. Yet the Flame Palace disciples displayed confident looks. With a simple move, they leaped to vacant space at the side. 2 juveniles immediately followed. Do it. A disciple placed his hands behind his back and spoke impassively. Sure. The 2 juveniles exchanged a glance before they launched an attack at that Flame Palace disciple. However, the outcome blew everyone away. That disciple exuded a faint glow in red and fired off explosive and ferocious assaults that forced his 2 opponents of the same level back. The sacred sect disciple indeed. They are domineering. They are formidable. Is this the power of a sacred sect? Everyone was stunned while the ones fighting with Flame Palace disciple had cold sweat breaking out from their foreheads as they were appalled. Bam! At this moment, that disciple of Flame Palace sent one of the juveniles flying with a punch. The other juvenile had a drastic change in his expression with wariness all over his face. Enough! The Flame Palace disciple stopped and shook his head as he looked at the 2 of them who he had exchanged blows with. Poor in actual combat. Fail. Saintess Luan Fonghua said with a calm voice. Fail? Both of them were level 6 martial artists at such an age, yet they could not make it to the Flame Palace. Such a strict test, but what they did was right. After all, it's the sacred sect. The disciples of sacred sect are just too formidable. Everyone around the field watched in awe. The art of cultivation in sacred sects is definitely better than those average sections. They can easily attain the realm above inborn realm. Radiance flickered in Mo Qinglong's eyes as he sat below. Easily attain the realm above inborn realm? What do you mean? Wang Xian asked doubtfully when he heard Mo Qinglong. Master, the art of cultivation is divided into many grades. Some of the mediocre ones would find it difficult to reach the inborn realm, while some of them can easily do it. To achieve the realm above inborn realm, you must practice an origin source, aka an attribute. But there aren't many of these techniques around, yet the Flame Palace is practicing one. Chapter 244, Pilgrimage or Tearing Down the Place, 3. The realm above the inborn realm is often regarded as a myth. However, such a realm really exists. I can already feel it. However, it will be a little difficult to achieve the breakthrough, said Mo Qinglong to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. The realm above inborn realm was referred to as immortals of the land by the people in the underworld. However, inborn realm experts would refer to it as Dan realm. That would involve compressing internal energy within the elixir field into a Dan so as to achieve an advancement. However, it's extremely hard to compress one's internal energy into a Dan. The first issue lies in the art of cultivation. Art of cultivation has to have an elemental attribute. For example, Dan formed with metal, wood, and water. Art of cultivation would give metal Dan, wood Dan, and water Dan respectively. While Wang Xian was chatting with Mo Qinglong, the assessment was going on quickly. Soon, only 25 qualified candidates emerged from an initial number of over 110 candidates. The 25 candidates remaining would gain the qualification to join the Flame Palace. There were plenty of genius-level talents in first-class forces that failed to make the cut. From this, one could tell how stringent the Flame Palace's assessment was. At the same time, it demonstrated how powerful the Flame Palace was. For ordinary sects, the Flame Palace was incredible and almighty. The selection of disciples below 30 years old had now ended. Saintess Luan Fenghua looked across the crowd of qualified disciples. Seeing their excited faces, she smiled and looked to the crowd below the stage. Before we carry on with the subsequent assessment, I have something personal to settle. As she spoke, her gaze looked down and eventually landed at where Thistles and Thorns Sect was. My master, Elder Duan, has had a little personal animosity against sect leader Tang of the Thistles and Thorns Sect in the past. This has to be settled first, said the saintess, Luan Fenghua, as she smirked. Rumble. When she finished her sentence, the surrounding families and sects erupted into discussions. Thousands of people from the entire field looked towards where Thistles and Thorns Sect was. Sympathy, contempt, and expressions of pleasure in others' misery was written across their faces. The small Thistles and Thorns Sect has offended an elder of Flame Palace. It's over. They are completely finished. Based on the strength that was demonstrated by the Flame Palace, annihilating the Thistles and Thorns Sect will be just like killing an ant. Thistles and Thorns Sect is going to be annihilated. My master is an elder of a sacred sect and will naturally not lower her status by bullying a second-class force. Saintess Luan Fenghua opened her mouth again and the crowd went silent immediately. Our Flame Palace will also not lower our status by targeting you. In that case, Luan Fenghua paused for a moment and looked to where the Thistles and Thorns Sect was. Send your best disciple forward. Based on my understanding, the Thistles and Thorns Sect seems to have assigned a saintess. Let our disciples take a look at her. If your saintess cultivation level isn't bad, we might just spare you. However, if she can't make it, you guys can start disbanding. When the last 5 words of the sentence ended, she emitted a faint aura towards where Thistles and Thorns Sect was. Domineering. This is the might of a sacred sect. They aren't killing you because they are afraid of staining their hands. However, they could force you to disband directly. The Flame Palace is indeed deserving of the name of a sacred sect. Domineering, with contempt for everything else. Although they aren't taking actions themselves, they can make you disband directly. incredible and mighty. The surrounding crowd sighed and looked towards Thistles and Thorns sect. At this moment, everyone in the Thistles and Thorns sect was embarrassed. Some of them were even shivering from anger. The face of sect leader Tang, who was standing in front of the group, was as white as a sheet. Asking me to disband the Thistles and Thorns sect? That would be the greatest humiliation ever. He would be letting down his ancestors and would bear the insults and shame for life if he had to disband the sect. Elder Tang looked bitterly at an elder of Flame Palace. Elder Duan looked down at sect leader Tang with scorn and disdain. The two of them weren't on the same level at this moment. A word from him, and he could make the Thistles and Thorns sect disband. Sect leader, didn't they want me to step forward? SK, I'll show them what I'm capable of. Xiao Yu saw the crowd looking at them with scorn and saw how the disciples of the Flame Palace looked down on them. At this moment, she was filled with rage. Xiao Yu, sect leader has let you down. Sect leader Tang looked bitterly at Xiao Yu. Rest assured, sect leader, Thistles and Thorns sect won't disband. Didn't they want to see my strength? I'll show them how incredible I am. Xiao Yu clenched her small fist and answered angrily. Yeah. With the Flame Palace identifying Xiao Yu specifically, sect leader Tang had no ways to go against the Flame Palace. He could only nod his head slowly and turn to glance at Wang Xian. Wang Xian didn't say anything. Letting Xiao Yu fight would be an important trial for her. If she wanted to become an expert, she had to be able to face some of the issues. If Wang Xian had kept her protected under his wing, Xiao Yu would never be able to spread her wings and fly in the vast skies. There are some things that she had to face alone. Saintess, Wang Yu, of the Thistles and Thorns sect seeking guidance from the disciple of the Flame Palace. 2. After obtaining the approval of the sect leader, Xiao Yu stepped forward and stared coldly at Luan Fanghua. Just a little brat. The Saintess of Thistles and Thorns sect is just a little brat. What the? How old is this Saintess? 18 or 19? My guess is she's not even 20, and yet she was already made the Saintess of the Thistles and Thorns sect? Could it be that she's the illegitimate child of sect leader Tang? Haha, she's so young and she's already the Saintess of the Thistles and Thorns sect. It seems like Thistles and Thorns sect is really going to be disbanded. They shouldn't have offended the Flame Palace. What a group of reckless people. When the crowd saw Xiao Yu step forward, almost everyone was waiting to see her get destroyed. A little brat who wasn't even 20 could become the Saintess? This was probably a joke. TSK. Xiao Yu could hear the mockeries of the crowd, who weren't even trying to mask it. She clenched her hand tightly over her treasured sword and stared ahead furiously. A little brat. When Luan Fanghua saw Xiao Yu, she didn't see her as a threat at all as she commented plainly. Who would like to educate the Saintess of the Thistles and Thorns sect? Luan Fanghua looked in the direction of the disciples of Flame Palace and asked loudly. She had also intentionally chosen to use the word educate. Her contempt for Xiao Yu was clearly evident in her choice of words. That's the sister of Miracle Dr. Wang. Who would have expected her to be the Saintess of the Thistles and Thorns sect? At this moment, among the disciples of the Flame Palace, Mu Wanwan and the few other young men around her saw Xiao Yu and were a little surprised. Saintess? Let me educate this Saintess from the Thistles and Thorns sect. Mu Wanwan's lips curved into a smile. Recalling the day when Wang Xian had embarrassed them in the school canteen, her expression turned as cold as ice. She was fearful of Miracle Doctor. However, that Miracle Dr. Wang had rejected the invitation of Flame Palace consecutively. Under such circumstances, with Flame Palace as her backing, she wasn't fearful, even if she was to face Miracle Dr. Wang. The embarrassment on that day shall be returned to your sister here. Mu Wanwan walked forward. She held a belt sword in her hand and looked down on Xiao Yu arrogantly. Mu Wanwan from Flame Palace. Let me educate you a little, Saintess of the Thistles and Thorns sect. As she spoke, she lifted one of her hands before continuing. Seeing that you are just a little brat, I shall just use one hand. SK. As to who's going to educate who, this isn't set in stone yet. Xiao Yu gritted her teeth. stared at Mu Wanwan and gradually drew her long sword. Give this saintess from the Thistles and Thorns sect a lesson she wouldn't forget, remarked Saintess Wan Fanghua emotionlessly. Chapter 245, Pilgrimage or Tearing Down the Place 4. A second-class force actually has a saintess? How interesting. I bet that lass from Thistles and Thorns sect couldn't take more than 3 strokes. That Mu Wanwan from Flame Palace seemed to be a level 7 proficient. I guess she can beat her in just 1 or 2 strokes. Judging from what the saintess said, they want to teach this lass from Thistles and Thorns sect a lesson. Everyone stared at the field and exchanged views about it. The elders and attendants from Thistles and Thorns sect were overwrought. Despite knowing that Xiaoyu had a domineering inborn constitution, they were worried, as she was going to face a disciple from Flame Palace. After all, it had not been long since Xiaoyu began her cultivation, and she did not have any combat experience. Elder Fong and Sect Leader Tang at the side looked relieved though. Hee. Elder Lu revealed a faint smile as he looked at his apprentice with a satisfied look under the large cauldron. I'll let you have a go first, lass. Mu Wanwan scorned Xiaoyu with one hand behind her back and another hand holding her belt sword. She raised her eyebrow at her. Fine. Xiaoyu took a deep breath, grasping the sword in her hand. This was her first fight and her first real combat experience. She closed her eyes and recalled the sword movement taught by her teacher and Sect Leader Tang. Poot, what is that lass doing? Is she too nervous? Haha, the Saintess of Thistles and Thorns sect is funny. She is so nervous that she closed her eyes. If such a lass can become a Saintess of Thistles and Thorns sect, I think they can really disband. The spectators around them chortled when they saw how Xiaoyu was behaving. The Saintess from Thistles and Thorns sect was amusing. I'm going to attack. Xiaoyu opened her eyes and looked fixedly at Mu Wanwan without any emotion. Hee, lass. Mu Wanwan shook her head disdainfully. However, Xiaoyu held her sword and thrust forward with a sharp radiance on her sword edge and a swift movement just like the wind. Xiaoyu had completely adjusted herself to her peak condition in terms of her speed and strength. This blow was almost at the peak of an attack from a level 8 martial artist. The moment Xiaoyu struck, Mu Wanwan felt as though a lion was coming her way when she looked at the sword propelled at a breakneck speed. Her expression changed abruptly as she quickly put up her block. A horrified shriek cut the air in the field. Mu Wanwan stared with a ghastly look at the sword that had slashed her belly. A honed sword had slit her clothes, and blood was oozing out from it. If Xiaoyu had not altered the course of the sword slightly, she could have killed Mu Wanwan instantly. Shocking. Everyone watched this stage in disbelief as they could not believe their eyes. They were stupefied when they witnessed Xiaoyu's sword slashing the disciple of Flame Palace. With just a stroke, Xiaoyu had almost killed Mu Wanwan, a level 7 martial artist from Flame Palace, in a split second. Swift and mighty move. Her speed and her power are equivalent to a level 8 martial artist. Gosh, the Saintess from Thistles and Thorns sect is a level 8 martial artist? Unbelievable. An instant kill within 1 stroke. This young girl is domineering. Incredible. She's at least a level 8 martial artist. Well, a juvenile who is not even 20 years old possesses a level 8 strength? Such an intimidating talent. Level 8 martial artist. She could jolly reach Inborn Realm in the future. No wonder Thistles and Thorns sect conferred her as the Saintess of Thistles and Thorns sect. She has dominating endowment. Her talent is intimidating. Even the Saint and Saintess from Flame Palace were not as gifted as her. The atmosphere got heated instantly. They stared in disbelief at Xiaoyu, who had slashed the disciple from Flame Palace in a split second. Just now, they were still mocking and scoffing at her. The next moment, she made an instant kill. The intimidating talent. How is this possible? Even the disciples stared at Xiaoyu with shock. With a level 8 strength, she already surpassed many other Flame Palace disciples. The most surprising thing was her endowment. The faint smile on Saintess Luan Fenghua's lip slowly disappeared. Her eyes glittered as she fixed her eyes at Xiaoyu with surprise. The four elders below the large cauldron were taken aback as they looked at Xiaoyu. A saintess of second-class sect at the age of 18 or 19 actually possessed the strength of a level 8 martial artist. Her endowment was even better than their saint and saintess. Did I win? Xiaoyu fixed her eyes on Mu Wanwan, who was horrified, and asked impassively. Her voice was heard throughout the field. Everyone halted their breathing for a moment and stopped their conversations. It was so quiet that everyone could hear a pin drop. Well, what a wonderful saintess of Thistles and Thorns Sect and Tangling Long. Elder Lu sat under the large cauldron and muttered in a low voice with a gloomy look. Elder Lu, she's just a lass with extraordinary talents. Before she's a grown-up, she's still a lass. Upon hearing what Elder Lu said, he answered with a dismissive expression. He stood up slowly and cast a look at Xiaoyu. With a beam, he said, "Very good. The young lady has such an outstanding talent to achieve level 8 at such a young age." Her? What's going on? An elder of Flame Palace praised her personally? Don't tell me that this elder is fond of talents. The surrounding crowd was puzzled as they watched the elder of Flame Palace stand up. Wang Yu, right? Well done. The old man continued his praise. It would be a waste for this supreme talent to stay in Thistles and Thorns Sect. But after all, you're a saintess. Why not this? I'll make an arrangement today. Since the saintess of Thistles and Thorns Sect is such a gifted person, we have a disciple who is a descendant of a highly ranked member in Flame Palace. I've decided to let saintess of Thistles and Thorns Sect marry the descendant of Attendant Peng. The old man stood beside the giant cauldron and announced this right away. What? Does the Flame Palace want to have an allegiance marriage with Thistles and Thorns Sect? If she marries the descendant of a highly ranked member in Flame Palace, wouldn't Thistles and Thorns Sect be affiliated with Flame Palace? This would be a blessing in disguise. Everyone below the stage froze for a moment before they began their discussion frantically again. Some of them envied Thistles and Thorns Sect for having a blessing in disguise. Yet, the elder's words stunned the disciples of the Flame Palace. The descendant of Attendant Peng? Isn't he Peng Fengyan, that ugly idiot? To betroth the saintess of Thistles and Thorns Sect to that idiot, Peng Fengyan, he must be in luck. TSK, that saintess of Thistles and Thorns Sect looks pretty. That ugly and silly idiot is really lucky. Disciples of the Flame Palace paused for a while before they whispered. Even though their voices were soft, all the martial artists around them could hear them. When they heard the whispering of Flame Palace disciples, they froze immediately. To betroth the saintess of Thistles and Thorns Sect to an ugly and idiotic disciple was obviously an insult. Nothing was more humiliating than this. Chapter 246. Are you all worthy? 1. What? Xiaoyu, who was standing on the stage, was shocked to see the elder who stood up and decided her marriage suddenly. Her marriage wasn't something that could be casually determined by others. Moreover, she was asked to marry a mentally challenged guy. Were they trying to humiliate her? Below the stage, Sect leader Tang and Elder Fong looked aghast upon hearing the elder of the Flame Palace. Elder, you don't have to worry about the marriage of a disciple of the Thistles and Thorns Sect. Moreover, we are just a small second-class force. There's no way we deserve someone from the Flame Palace. Sect leader Tang immediately stood up and said bitterly, As long as I say it can, it can. This matter is settled. That old man looked nonchalantly at Sect leader Tang and spoke in a definitive tone. It's over. The future of that genius girl is ruined. Marrying an idiot? So what if he's the descendant of a highly ranked member of the sacred sect? What a humiliation. Thistles and Thorns Sect finally found a genius young girl. Yet, she has to marry an idiot from the Flame Palace. What a huge insult. This young lady has chosen the wrong sect. It will be easy for her to join a first-class force or even a sacred sect. She might very well make it to the outstanding young heroes chart one day and become an inborn expert. Around them, Voices of discussion didn't stop. However, they did not mock the Flame Palace or say a single word that suggested Flame Palace was wrong. This was a manifestation of the influence Flame Palace possessed. Interesting. Trying to humiliate us? Below the stage, Wang Xian saw the old man acting like his words were the decree of an emperor. Instantly, murderous intent flashed in his mind. Even an idiot wishes to marry my sister. Is the Flame Palace crazy? Wang Xian remarked emotionlessly, stepping forward and staring at the old man. Huh. Wang Xian's voice shocked the surrounding crowd. Who dares to retort the elder of the Flame Palace? Are you seeking death? The crowd followed the source of the voice and looked over. The elder from the Flame Palace was shocked. He squinted his eyes, stared at Wang Xian, and was shocked. So it's Miracle Dr. Wang. I had not expected this genius young girl to be your sister. The elder of Flame Palace looked ahead as he commented. Miracle Dr. Wang? Miracle Dr. Wang? There's only one miracle doctor that is so young. He must be the 8th-ranked miracle doctor, Miracle Dr. Wang from Rivertown. So this young girl is the sister of Miracle Dr. Wang, an 8th-ranked miracle doctor on the miracle doctor's chart. There's no wonder his sister is so strong. I was still wondering how a small thistles and thorns sect could nurture such a talented young girl. The crowd looked towards Wang Xian and exclaimed, Miracle Dr. Wang, isn't this a great thing? At this moment, Elder Lu stood up slowly. A ruthless light flashed in his eyes as he continued, Our Flame Palace wished to invite you to join us but was rejected. If this goes through, although Miracle Dr. Wang couldn't join our Flame Palace, you can become related to us. That's a good outcome too. Elder Lu's words shocked the crowd as they looked at Wang Xian. Who could have expected Miracle Dr. Wang to reject Flame Palace's invitation? We are talking about an invitation from a sacred sect. As a new sacred sect, if Miracle Dr. Wang joins them, he would definitely be treated generously. Who would have expected him to reject the invitation? Hee. Asking my sister to marry a retard? Wang Xian looked emotionlessly at Elder Lu. He's not a retard. He's the descendant of someone who has contributed much to the Flame Palace. His standing in the Flame Palace won't be low. Elder Lu's lips curved up slightly. Is it so? Wang Xian laughed mockingly. A light flickered in his eyes as he looked in the opposite direction. At that place, an expressionless young man stood there. He had short hair and a devilish aura around him. The young man felt the gaze from Wang Xian, bowed respectfully and nodded his head. Following which, the young man looked to the central location coldly. A retard of the Flame Palace wishes to marry a girl favored by the gods. Isn't the Flame Palace a little too indulged in your own fantasies? Are you guys deserving of her? He walked slowly ahead with a cold smirk without a tinge of fear that he was facing a sacred sect. Huh. The crowd was surprised by the voice and looked in the direction of it. Who's that young man? Is he courting death? Everyone looked over and was confused by the young man in front of them. Elder Lu also turned around immediately and stared coldly at the young men. Before the elders of Flame Palace said a word, the saintess, Luan Fanghua, remarked coldly, a descendant of one of the contributors of Flame Palace isn't someone you can comment on casually. You are digging your own grave by insulting the disciples of the Flame Palace. Hee. The young man gave a sarcastic smile and continued, Can it be that trash disciples of Flame Palace can't be criticized by others? Just because you are from a sacred sect? Exactly. It's because we are from a sacred sect. Saintess, Luan Fanghua, stared domineering at the young man. She waved the long sword lightly in her hand before continuing, If you say another word, I'll definitely slay you. Ha. At this moment, the young man burst into laughter. I'm Wusher. Since the Saintess of Flame Palace wishes to slay me, it's only natural that I take on the challenge. Wusher was a name used by Imo Wusher in the underworld. Imo Wusher leaped and descended onto the field. He looked at the 4 elders at the central location and smirked. I'm guessing the elders of Flame Palace wouldn't fight with a junior. Am I right? Diamond Bone Wusher. He's the 19th ranked Wuxia on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart. Wuxia was one favored by the gods, who emerged from nowhere half a month ago. As a rogue cultivator, he made it to the 19th position on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart at the young age of 26 years old. Wuxia from the Outstanding Young Heroes chart? What is he trying to do? Challenge the Saint and Saintess of Flame Palace? I heard that Wuxia has been going around challenging various geniuses. Just a while ago, he defeated the 19th ranked genius and replaced him on the chart. When the crowd heard Mo Wuxia reveal his name, they were slightly shocked. At the central location, the elders of Flame Palace squinted their eyes and fixed their gazes on him. You, Saintess, Wan Fenghua, stared coldly at Mo Wuxia and remarked, "A 19th ranked guy on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart isn't qualified to make our elders take you on. Since you want to kick up a fuss today, I just have to cut you down," said the Saintess. She handled the long sword in her hand slowly and said, "Diamond Bone? I'll turn you into a corpse today." "Haha, just you alone? Oh, little Saintess of the Flame Palace, you are just trash to me. Come forward with that saint," shouted Mo Wuxia brazenly as he stared at Wan Fenghua. His arrogance was through the skies. The surrounding crowd stared at the brazen Mo Wuxia in disbelief. Is there something wrong with his head? How is he so daring to taunt the saint and saintess of the Flame Palace here? Chapter 247. Are you all worthy? 2. Everyone stared at the extremely arrogant Mo Wuxia. In their eyes, this Wuxia might be a retard. How dare he taunt the saint and saintess of Flame Palace? He was obviously digging his own grave. The Flame Palace would never let him off. "I'll kill him," said Saint of Flame Palace indifferently. He had been keeping his quiet. As he spoke, he gazed at Mo Wuxia. "No, you don't. How dare a 19th ranked guy on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart speak impudently? Let me slaughter him." Saintess Luan Fenghua cast a glance at Saint Mo Tsanghai. With an arm swing, she held her sword in her hand. She fixed her eyes on Mo Wuxia and said coldly, "You'll pay for your brazen words with your life." As soon as she finished her words, she dived out like a dancing swallow on fire. Her body was glowing with red radiance as she darted towards Mo Wuxia. What light, flexible footwork, and fiery attack. Saintess at the peak of level 8 has such mighty attacking power. Even I, as a level 9 martial artist, would be terrified by her assault. Too formidable. Since average disciples of Flame Palace are capable of beating someone of their same level, the strength that Saintess possesses will be more intimidating. A moth that flies into the flame. Mo Wuxia was emotionless when he saw the light and fast figure attacking him. He stretched out his arm with black aura exuding from his body. "Show me what the Saintess of Flame Palace has got." Both of his arms danced in the air as the sword of Luan Fenghua approached him. "Go and die." Luan Fenghua's eyes were filled with killing intent. She jerked her arm, and the sword burst into flames. She aimed and thrust her sword at Mo Wuxia's arm. Bam, bam, bam. However, a crisp and clear sound was heard when the honed sword fell on Mo Wuxia's arm. The golden blade aura could not win against the mortal flesh and bones. What? Saintess Luan Fenghua made a different expression as she wielded her sword with a stern face. The battle of the sword and physical body was actually on par. The Diamond Bone lives up to his name. He's so formidable that even Saintess Luan Fenghua could not break through his defense. Isn't he impressive? Saintess is in the top 50 on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart. All the spectators were stunned as they placed their attention on the fight between the two people. Saintess Luan Fenghua wielded her sword, aiming all the vital parts of Mo Wuxia. His face was looking colder than before. Shoo! A flash of red light darted straight in his eyes. Mo Wuxia jerked his arm and divine dragon scales emerged on his hand. Pa! His palm grabbed the sword immediately while he moved his body closer to Saintess Luan Fenghua, who was shocked by it. Mo Wuxia charged at her with almighty physical strength. Bam! Weak. Too weak. Saintess of Flame Palace is just Imo Wuxia struck a heavy blow to Luan Fenghua's chest. She puked a mouthful of blood and looked pale. He laughed loudly as he retreated 10 meters away from her. With a pair of eyes that shone like torches, he glared at Saint Imo Songhai. Next! Boom! Imo Songhai's body quaked, and a faint flaming aura encircled him. He stared at Imo Wuxia coldly. Die! He's formidable. Luan Fenghua could not help but puke a mouthful of blood at the side. With a pale-looking face, she warned Imo Songhai. She was macabre as she looked fixedly at the arrogant figure. What? Saintess was already defeated? Dominating. Diamond Bone Wuxia's assault was overbearing. His powerful defense vanquished her in all aspects. His strength is definitely higher than his ranking on the outstanding young heroes chart. Saintess is defeated. Gosh. The surrounding crowd got the shock of their lives. The 4 elders of Flame Palace, sitting in the central position, had a slight vile expression. A rogue cultivator defeated their Saintess of Flame Palace at this time. If word about what happened today got around, the Flame Palace would definitely be embarrassed. Haha, I made myself clear. Only when 2 of you join hands can you qualify to fight with me. One is just a long way to go. Imo Wuxia scoffed at Imo Songhai. Stop your arrogance. Imo Songhai showed signs of embarrassment on his cool-looking face. He made a shift move and struck Imo Wuxia. Haha. Imo Wuxia cackled as his body was shrouded within a demonic aura. I'm capable of doing that in front of you. Audacious and boundless arrogance. The disciples of Flame Palace around exhibited extremely dreadful looks. Their expressions sunk as they fixed their attention on Imo Wuxia. If it were not for the presence of the various sects and families from different provinces here, they would have besieged and whacked that arrogant fellow. However, they could not do it now. Even if they dared to do it, the reputation of Flame Palace would be ruined. The 4 Flame Palace elders sat in the field with darkened expressions as they gazed at the fight with cold faces. Imo Wuxia and Imo Songhai's battle broke out instantly. Imo Songhai, ranked 14th on the Outstanding Young Heroes chart, was the Saint of Sacred Sect Flame Palace. He was a level 9 martial artist before he turned 32. Hence, his endowment was intimidating. But even so, Imo Songhai was at the total losing end when he battled with Imo Wuxia. Everyone was stupefied as they watched Imo Wuxia suppressing Imo Songhai with his fearsome steel bones and iron muscles. The saint was powerless to put up a resistance. Saint of Sacred Sect is just so. Imo Wuxia rolled his 5 fingers into claws. Black aura wrapped around his hands, and his hands took the form of dragon claws. You lose. He burst out a clap of laughter and ripped the person in front of him with a claw. Imo Songhai was horrified as he quickly raised his arm to block the blow. When the terrifying crash was felt, his face went grisly. Imo Wuxia gripped and scratched the arm of Imo Songhai with 5 fingers. 5 deep and bloody marks were left on it with wounds that went deep into the bone. Blood dripped as Imo Songhai stared at Imo Wuxia, who withdrew his arm slowly. Imo Songhai was looking vile. Imo Wuxia was ostentatious. He had a disdainful face and was full of arrogance. Even the Saintess and Saint of Flame Palace were defeated. I wonder if there are other outstanding young people from Flame Palace? Imo Wuxia swept his gaze across the disciples of Flame Palace with a sneer. Finally, he looked at the 4 elders in the field. Elders, given the strength of your disciples, how can the Flame Palace be worthy of this girl who is favored by God? Darn. This Wuxia is such a braggart. He's asking for death. That is simply taking the disciples of Flame Palace as trash. That's right. Wang Xian looked at Imo Wuxia with satisfaction. Talking about flaunting, Imo Wuxia was still very good at it. He took a glance at the injured Saintess and Saint before he sneered. He turned to the elders of Flame Palace. Elders, since anyone can beat the hell out of the Saintess and Saint of Flame Palace, I think you can forget about this marriage. Since your Saintess and Saint turned out to be this way, whichever descendant of that highly ranked member, does he deserve it? Wang Xian scorned and sneered at them. The one who humiliates others can be humiliated too. Since Flame Palace wanted to show off the strength of their younger generation, then they would just vanquish the saint and saintess. Chapter 248. All-Rounded Suppression. The line, "Are you deserving?" resounded throughout the entire field. Everyone was dumbfounded as they turned to Wang Xian and the Flame Palace. "Are you deserving?" This had shamed the members of the Flame Palace. "You aren't deserving." At this moment, Imo Wuxia, who was standing in the middle of the field, made a shocking remark. His remark seemed to be a response to Wang Xian's question, after which he walked to Xiaoyu and did something that made the crowd into disheveled. Imo Wuxia went down on one knee in front of Xiaoyu. With his head lowered slightly, he said, "Saintess, if there's anything Wuxia can do to be of help to you in the future, please give me your orders." Rumble. Everyone in the field looked at them in disbelief. The one favored by the gods, Wuxia, questioned if Flame Palace could merit a girl like Xiaoyu. Miracle Dr. Wang questioned whether Flame Palace was deserving of Xiaoyu. Also, the proud son of heaven, Wuxia, kneeled respectfully in front of the saintess of the Thistles and Thorns Sect like a servant. Together, this was equivalent to openly questioning if Flame Palace was qualified to match with the saintess of the Thistles and Thorns Sect. A tight slap to their faces. A while ago, Flame Palace declared with dominance the marriage of the saintess of the Thistles and Thorns Sect with a retard from the Flame Palace. The next moment, a miracle doctor and a proud son of heaven questioned their qualifications through a display of strength. "Do you guys merit her? Are you deserving?" The entire field had quietened down. At this moment, no one dared to say a word. The four elders of Flame Palace in the middle of the field were aghast and stood up coldly. Rumble. Strong flames raged on from the large cauldron behind them as the sounds of fire burning resounded in the field. Their eyes fell gradually on Wang Xian and Imo Wuxia. Miracle Dr. Wang of Rivertown. At this very moment, a middle-aged man, who was wearing attire with a large mountain embroidered on it, stared at Wang Xian with a vengeance from the corner of the field. "It's all because of him that our Lingyue sect suffered such great losses," said the middle-aged man to the old man beside him. The old man nodded his head as his eyes turned cold. He squinted his eyes and looked towards Imo Wuxia, who was in the field. "This rascal is clearly standing up for Miracle Dr. Wang. In that case..." The lips on the old man slowly arched into a smirk. Since Lingyue sect was at deep enmity with Miracle Dr. Wang, he might as well get on the good books of Flame Palace at this moment. The old man stepped forward and shouted, "Rascal! How dare you be so brazen to the sacred sect, Flame Palace? Are you courting death? Are you courting death?" The voice of the old man broke the silence in the field and resounded in the ears of the crowd. This voice? That's the aura of an inborn expert. Just as the old man opened his mouth, everyone was shocked and looked over quickly. "It's the sect leader of Lingyue sect." "Lingyue sect? Is he?" An old man walked towards the middle of the field amidst the gazes from the crowd. He was staring coldly at Imo Wuxia. The crowd was slightly shocked and soon understood what was happening. The sect leader of Lingyue sect was intending to take on Imo Wuxia. As a sacred sect, the elders of the Flame Palace couldn't act as they wished when Imo Wuxia defeated their saint and saintess. If they did, the Flame Palace would bear the name of a bully and one who didn't follow the customs and rules. Although Imo Wuxia was arrogant, his challenge to the saint and saintess of the Flame Palace was official after all. The Flame Palace couldn't possibly kill him just because he defeated the saint and saintess of the Flame Palace. As a new sacred sect, they had to pay a lot of attention to their reputation. However, even if the Flame Palace couldn't act themselves, it didn't mean others couldn't act on their behalf. The sect leader of Lingyue sect was attempting to get on the good books of the Flame Palace. Seeing the approaching sect leader of Lingyue sect, the four elders of Flame Palace revealed a gratified look. As a sacred sect, there would be times when they wouldn't have to handle some matters themselves because others would volunteer to do it for them. "Rascal, You must be eager to die for being so arrogant to the Flame Palace. I'll give you 3 minutes. Get lost or die." The sect leader stared at Imo Wusher as he spoke emotionlessly. At the same time, he sent the aura of an inborn expert towards Imo Wusher directly. Imo Wusher was surprised. He covered himself in a devilish aura as he tried to withstand the aura of the sect leader of Lingyue's sect. If Wusher still chooses to act rashly, he is likely to be killed. He's too arrogant. Under such circumstances, even if the Flame Palace doesn't act, there would be people jumping out to teach Wusher a lesson. Although they were slightly surprised by Wusher initially, they weren't exactly surprised to see an inborn expert targeting Imo Wusher. "KSK, how dare you be so arrogant in the territory of our Flame Palace? Even if we don't do a thing, others would step forward to put you down." When the group of disciples of Flame Palace saw an inborn expert stepping forward to target Imo Wusher, they smiled cockily. They wouldn't need the elders to do anything, and there would naturally be experts who would step in. Everyone looked at Imo Wusher, who was in the middle of the field. At this moment, he probably couldn't be arrogant. He's just a junior. As an inborn expert, why are you so calculative? However, just as everyone thought that the sect leader of Lingyue's sect would act to suppress Imo Wusher, a cold voice sounded. An invisible aura blocked the stifling pressure of an inborn expert from Lingyue's sect directly. What? An inborn expert? There's an inborn expert who wants to stick up for Wusher. Is this an open confrontation with the Flame Palace? Everyone was shocked and immediately turned their head over. At the corner where the people from Flow City gathered, a middle-aged man held a long sword in his hand, his hair covering his face. "Maniac G." The crowd was stunned, and so was the sect leader of Lingyue's sect. He stared intensely at him as his expression turned solemn. "Maniac G." The elders and disciples of Flame Palace looked over coldly. "Maniac G of Flow City." The sect leader of Lingyue's sect stared harshly at him and chided. "This is a matter of Lingyue's sect. You can't stop me." "I'd love to give it a try." Suddenly, an emotionless voice sounded from the crowd. A strong aura swept towards the sect leader of Lingyue's sect directly. The strong approaching aura shocked the sect leader of Lingyue's sect. "What?" Everyone in the crowd immediately looked over. It was another middle-aged man standing beside the Thistles and Thorns sect. He was staring harshly at the sect leader of Lingyue's sect. "Get back to your sect. Otherwise, Lingyue's sect won't have a single peaceful day." The middle-aged man was none other than Imo Yuan, who demanded coldly. "Fuck. 2 inborn experts. 2 freaking inborn experts. What is he trying to do? Challenging the Flame Palace openly? Oh my god. There are 2 inborn experts now. This is too terrifying." The sect leader of Lingyue's sect tried to suppress the proud son of heaven, Wusher. To his astonishment, 2 inborn experts stepped forward to safeguard him. What a domineering appearance. Who is that middle-aged man standing beside the Thistles and Thorns sect? What a terrifying aura he has. Why haven't I heard of such an inborn expert? The surrounding crowd was shocked to witness the development of events. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.